Tonight, we're bringing this week's flight sim news and updates from SayIntentions. We welcome Time Machine Designs to the stream. We're going to chat a little bit more about their Hadrian wall scenery. Nick from Black Square will join us later as we preview the upcoming Starship for Microsoft Flight Sim. And we check out the latest release from iniBuilds Providence, Rhode Island. Hello, everybody, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the middle of the week, the halftime show, the midweek shuffle. Welcome to the news. Lots of news, Janie Mac, right, it's all happening now. As good old Jim Ross would say, business is about to pick up. Hope you're all keeping well tonight. Yes, we have a busy one, and we are going to be busy on more flying. As we bring you this week's Flight Sim news, we invite to the stream for the first time Time Machine Designs. I met these guys over at FS Weekend, and I saw their project release, I think it was last year, and they were working on bringing Hadrian's Wall to the sim. I remember reading about it. I read it over on MSFS right? Shout out to Vasco. But I was like, hang on, Roman stuff. Yes, this is right up in my wheelhouse. And I started learning a little bit more about the project. They were working with universities, and they actually have live dig sites even up until March of this year, and there could be even more going on. Effectively, it's an entire project to rebuild what was once the entirety of Hadrian's Wall, which keeps out the barbarians. We do like the Scots now, but what these guys have managed to do, well, they've brought it into our sim. It is a educational masterpiece, and something I can't wait to check out. Do you know? So they're going to be joining us in a little while. Then Nick from Black Square. So much anticipation as we look forward to the incoming Starship. The Beach Starship looks to be one of just an incredible aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim. General aviation, but with the systems that it even make, NASA go, huh? Right. So Nick will be along a little bit later as we preview the aircraft, see what it's all about, and if you guys have any questions, and we'll try and start it up. It'd be grand now. And also the backdrop to all of that is going to be the brand new release from iniBuilds. It is the Providence, Rhode Island scenery, in which they've actually modelled the Flight Sim Expo setup in the convention centre. What? The whole thing, right? I didn't see me walking around though, but sure, listen, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, hope you're all keeping well. We're in this now for the long push. We do have some really good Flight Sim news to cover just before we get started, of course, as always. And there's a good chance me chopper might take off there. But anyway, we'll dive into it, friends. Try not to delay much longer. 3-second intro. put it on the clock and let's get to it. APU Inspector is here. Good day. CP65, welcome in. Vacuum is in the house. Lead Ballooner, very good evening to you. Spitfire RAF 100 is here in the chat. Welcome in, buddy. Crafty Tiger's good to see you. Fierce Wolf, looking fierce and wolfy. Great to see you, man. Clipped Out Panda, welcome aboard. Malky Mac is here. Eamon 1973. Lots happening today in the sim world. Indeed, and there is. Tomb 75, welcome aboard. The Impossible Face is here. PH Roy. What a maximum joyful news evening. Indeed, loads. It's turn it to the max. Sir Camsalot. AJH, man, hope you're well. Commander Bolosh is here, happy Wednesday. Bellbro rambles aboard, welcome in, man. Vince C, happy Wednesday. Super Typhon is here in the chat. Sourdough Man rambles aboard, welcome in, man. How are things in the place of the stuff? Do you know what I mean? Vasco from MSFSaddons.com is here in the chat. Good to see you, Vasco. Providence, man. Can't wait. But yes, Max Stallion, 115 streams in a row. Thank you very, very much indeed. Jesus, he must be terribly... Is that Aegis on again? Right. Quasar Core, good to see you. Viper Strike says, good evening, Murph and Fireflies. I had an epic day in Edinburgh, visiting Edinburgh Castle, and I walked on the Royal Mile. Viper, your holiday just sounds to be amazing. Did you find it weird in Edinburgh? There's no rivers, and yet there's bridges. It's mad, isn't it? DeRuiter, good evening. Where's this now? Shuffle Shoes shuffles in. AJH John, hope you're well. Little Trader, is it Wednesday already? It kind of snuck up on us, do you know. Mrs. TPHI is here. Stick Figure, good to see you. Alson, welcome aboard. Nightsep is in the chat. Wicked Lumberjacks, 25 streams. Thank you very much indeed, my guy. Jefferson 2001, the man, the myth, the legend. What news of the realm? He says, hey, good evening, Murph and Firefly. Hope you're all Fireflies. There's more than one. Hope you're doing well on this Wednesday. It's hump day. Good to see you, Jefferson. Viper Strike says, I predict the news tonight. His Skoda is at the shop again due to steering issues and the brakes catching fire. Soaring AJ, good to see you, man. Idle Cutoff is here. Hi, Murph. Cambridge calling. You're looking well. You're looking well from Tipperary. Good to see you, buddy. Right over here, B. Carla, welcome in. Sean Dale, welcome aboard. The Impossible Face is here. 10 streams in a row. Thank you very much indeed. Looking forward to the Starship. Oh, yeah. Can't wait, man. It's going to be brilliant. Proby Pete is here. Good day from Arizona. Summer in the desert, 107. There's 115 forecast for next week. Ooh, that's, right. I mean, would you even wear clothes? Piku is here, good to see you. Bellbro says, and now the 1900 Zulu news. Right, brilliant. Right, over here, look. Poor guys have to wait 2 hours. It's grand. It's American time. You know, Muse fan is here. Bursts in the door with a notebook. He says, how he is his man jokes is. The whole Lord. Welcome in, Muse. Hope you're well, man. Where's this now? Buttons down here, look. Retriever Neil, good evening. AZ Blue Line is here. Liptorius, welcome aboard. Conti is in the house. Fly, Conti. I think we should skip the rest of the news and do the Starship segment. I'm definitely not excited. Good to see you, Conti. Hope you're well, mate. Yeah, man, this is an aircraft. Oh man, it's just, you know, I could be at Hadrian's Wall in about 20 minutes from me house is Eamon. Oh really? Janie Mac. Toto is here, good to see you. Velo, welcome in. Captain Cocktail, good to see you. Fornax is here. Where's this now? Goblin Zeus, good evening. Nutty Slack is here. OMG Edson. Edson is here, tier 1, 35 months. Look, he says, please refer to me as Sir. OMG Edson. Brilliant. Damn you, sir. Do you remember the time I used to call you a McEdson? Listen, I do stupid things, it's okay. Mispronounce, give people the wrong name. Sometimes I have selective hearing. Yes, I would like a cheese sandwich. But Martel rambles aboard. Old veteran 965 Scott. A very happy Wednesday to you in Texas. Jamamu is here. Hey, Crotty, welcome aboard. Enjoying my Chinese takeout while watching the news. What you getting the Chinese? Old man boss, welcome in. Mr. Chippy. Wait. Is that Aegis on again? Brilliant. Serious Wolf is here. Hello, my dude. Dude is Priest. Good to see you. Cyrus T, the man of teal, is lurking in the background. There's a guardrail with his name in it. Who? The Skoda doesn't have brakes, Murph. It just has feet, Fred Flintstone style. That's the spirit. It's me, Brad is here. Hello, Brad. How's she cutting, man? Echo 19, Tyler is here. Tier 2, 5 months. Great to see you, Tyler. And by the way, there's also news from Echo 19 and the machine we just happened to be sat in front of. Move the mouse so the screen turn on. There, look, you can see it a bit better now. The 407 sound pack has received an update and has been released for both 2020 and 2024. It sounds savage. Or, you know, to quote myself, savage. Really, really good. So great work from Echo 19. Right, over here now, look. Summer is so much fun. 103 degrees. What? We'll miss the stream. Can someone ask Black Square about a paint kit for the Starship? Cyrus, I will ask Nick about a paint kit for the Starship. Yes. Now, where are we at? Love you, bro. How are you, my brother from another brother? Never to listen, twice removed, but then readopted back. Doing well, man. It's been a busy couple of weeks, right? And tonight, of course, we've a lot of, there's a lot of things happening for our beloved simulator. I mean, we know where Microsoft are at when it comes to sim updates, right? But we also can see a lot of aircraft developers now really starting to kind of flex and get their add-ons either updated or now released into 2024. It's terribly exciting. And it's not just happening in Microsoft. We're also seeing a lot of stuff happening over on X-Plane as well. So very, very exciting times to be flight simmers. Down the course, DCS, there's all sorts of stuff happening. Do you know? Schultz is here, good to see you. Who else come in the door now? No Undies McGee. He says, Murph, did you see the meme posted in the old Discord about the Irish lads overstaying their visa in Australia? Brilliant, isn't it? Oh, brilliant. But yes, where are we at? Pyrotech, good to see you, man. Lots of snags, yet lots of motion. Exciting and volatile times, says Edson. I would agree. But I can't really imagine. It's like one step forward and then 6 paces to the side. Keep turning around till you get dizzy. Yeah, that's about right. But yes, A320 Vig, good to see you. Flying Tonight is here. Ain't it a grand old night? It is. The weather's actually nice. We've a thunderstorm morning. I got my delivery today from Vodafone. Yes, my SIM card arrived, plugged it in, and wait for it. It didn't work, but that's not important. I'll fix it. I'm trying to accomplish an always-on internet connection, unless, of course, you know, they turn off the electricity, right? But now I have a generator for that as well. I'm getting very, very high tech here now, lads. You know. Colour TV and everything. It's all happening. But anyway, Visualize is here over on YouTube. You're very welcome in. Uniform Goose. Good to see you, Goose. Dave Cleary. A legend, Dave. Welcome in, Dave. Good to see you, man. Let me see. One Aviation Simulation. You're very welcome aboard. Steve Stavros is here. Did the Irish invent the Romans? Thought I'd check my historical facts. The Romans invented by the Irish back in 1974. Great bunch of lads. Johnny Mon is in the chat. Good to see you, Johnny. Hope all is well. B&O Railroad and Gaming and Fishing Channel. Welcome in. Hope you're well. Bat is here. Joey Bolo, baby. Welcome in, Joey. Hope all is well. I bet Gene is in here somewhere. You know, he'd just be hiding. Does old Gene, right? Starlink backup. I was thinking that, but they're very expensive. Do you know what I mean? Cyrus, have a great night, bud. Right. Don't forget the walls were also invented by the Irish. See, right, you're learning, lads. This is great to see. You're finally learning, right? All these things I say. Who else is here now? Nick is here. Good to see you, Nick. Good evening, Stevie Bees from Tenerife. Ooh, Ernie is here. Welcome in, Ernie. Hope you're well, man. Who are you, Murphy? Who watches you? Right? Don't worry about it. Me and York, we go way back, way back. Right, come on over here, look. Right, lads. Now, it's all happening, right? Now, there's a good chance I'll break things. I'm known to break, you know, if you're new here, Murphy breaks things all the time, right? Yes. Beautiful sounds already, right? But anyway, we're going to start off with the news, and then we're going to jump into some of these flight sim add-ons that we're showing off tonight. So first up, as I said, it's going to be from Time Machine Designs, their epic work on Hadrian's Wall, and then of course we're going to have the Starship. It's terribly exciting because the enjoyment I've gotten out of these add-ons even today, right, doing a little bit of homework, the Starship, I've done as much research as I could do without, you know, falling over. It's staggering, right? But we'll get to all that now in a moment. We're going to pause that simulation, and from over on this screen, friends, we are going to bring in the new... Oh, by the way, Edson, just while you're here, love your work, man. We need this in Flight Sim 24. I will harass and annoy and keep moaning and whinging at people until they say, yes, okay, let's put this into the sim. It's terribly important. It needs to happen, right? Oh. Anyway, press that button and we'll calm it down. It's the news we're looking for. Where's this? It's over here, look. Yes. Now, friends, holy tabs on a screen. So we'll start off with the Max. Huge news here from Flight One Software. The iFly 737 MAX 8. It's starting to make shape in Flight Sim 2024 because they have built a experimental version that you can use right now, and it flies within Flight Sim 2024. Jamie and Kenko, the two lads are flying that aircraft for the last while. Looking at Jamie's stream most of this evening, it seems to be flawless. A couple of features not there. I didn't hear the runway awareness, on runway 28. Get off the runway, right? Haven't heard that, but great to see now that the MAX is going to be coming in. This is one of my favorite aircraft when it comes to the airliners. To me, it's the best Boeing that I've seen, and it runs really, really well. It's, there's a ton of features in it, and the park and brakes are really dodgy, but apart from that, it's just an amazing aircraft. Now, what iFly have said, the experimental version has been released. There's information over on their Discord. The purchase now includes both versions. If you haven't bought it already, right, you can now buy the gadget, and that'll give you access to the aircraft on both simulators. It retails for $69.95. And I have it, I've flown it, and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy that airplane. And we have some cracking liveries as well for Firefly Air. If you haven't already bought it and you're into, learning an airliner, the Airbus are probably easier. They're a lot more automated, but the 737 MAX, this is just a great plane. It's an awesome plane. So great news there. The development team, along with Flight 1 team members, in consultation with a 737 MAX rated pilot and crew of engineers, were behind the development of this aircraft. So it's way up there, right? Comparing it to the likes of PMDG, it is quite different. PMDG do a stellar job. They really, really do. But the iFly, I think, it's just in every single possible area, it's just slightly better. Slightly better. You know what I mean? So great bit of kit this. So that's great news. The 737 MAX now available to operate within Flight Sim 2024, which is great news. In other news, as we rumble on over to MSFSaddons.com, shout out to Vasco's here in the chat, and of course to Callum and the lads over at FS Elite for all the news that we can see here this evening. Synaptic have previewed their A220. There was a deep dive on their live stream. They were looking into the visuals and the systems, and this is another exciting aircraft. Following an update in April, the team have now pulled back the curtain on the aircraft's progress with a 1.5 hour long walkthrough covering the visuals, systems, cabin modelling, and also a development timeline, all while fielding community questions. The presentation centred heavily on the visual fidelity of the aircraft, and they explained that the A220 has been built or rebuilt from scratch, leveraging 3D scans and technical diagrams, and the texturing has been handled by the iniBuilds team using the same advanced techniques seen on their A350. Everything from the winglet rivets to landing gear, hydraulics have all been modelled in very fine detail, with a strong emphasis on wear patterns, accurate surface materials, and dynamic weathering support. Really excited to see this thing, right? Inside the cockpit, the developers highlighted individual material behaviours across the components, from worn sheepskin pilot seats to the plasticware on the switches, right? So just to kind of jump ahead here, you can see it was a live stream that they did, but you'll see now from like some of the visuals on this, it's looking very impressive. It's still an active development. It's work in progress. I think they're going to give us an update at Expo. But this aircraft, I suppose, the Airbus A220, this is, best competitor with like the Embraer series aircraft. And it's very new. It's very new. So, it's a bus, right? But it's a little bit smaller. I think the original plan, I don't know, was this a native Airbus project? I think another company within the Airbus group started building this, and Airbus like, oh, hey, this works. Do you know what I mean? So, we'll see how it goes. Look at the detail there, look at the wing. Look at the detail. That's fantastic, look. Do you know? Bombardier, I think it was Bombardier. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Heisenberg is here, good to see you. Damn, I'm good. Welcome in. One Flight Air is in the chat. Welcome aboard, buddy. Yeah, so Bombardier were working on this, and then I think Airbus kind of took it over, if I'm right. Or do Airbus own them now? I don't know. But anyway, the A220 definitely making shapes, and it's on the way. As we move a little bit further into the interior, you can see, look at the state of the textures in here. It's really coming along live, isn't it? Really, really is. And I'm going to be excited to fly this one. It's kind of that short range regional jet that'll get you in and out of, I suppose, the likes of London City and whatever. But like, don't be expecting your long haul flights on this. It's quite small. But it looks amazing. I was looking through the stream, and even the avionics, screens and all this jazz powering up. There's other texture work to be done, I'm sure, but cool stuff, right? Really cool stuff. And it has Airbus logic behind it somewhere as well. So yeah, looking forward to this one. So any other news from this? July, feature deep into the electrical power. August, they're going to go through the displays menus. September, talk about the fly-by-wire. And at some stage in Q4 of this year, the initial release of the A220-3 for FlightSim 2020 and FlightSim 2024. Great stuff. Do you know? Where is this now? Nick says, Bombardier built it, but they couldn't sell it in the US as it wasn't made there. Airbus took it over as they have a factory in the US. Ah, right. Brilliant. That's pretty cool. It's hard to compete with E-Jets or E-Jets. It is. It's cool looking though. I'm looking forward to flying this. And if memory serves me, isn't this freeware or am I raving? Or maybe it was to be freeware and now it's payware. Can you guys remember? Is it not built in Canada? I'm not too sure. Wasn't this supposed to be freeware, I think? Payware, yeah. So it was to be a freeware project, but then they kind of delved into it to say, no, we're going to make it payware. Yeah, I think that was, originally it was to be freeware. All right, it's going to be payware. Now, next up, LatinVFR have released a native A340-3 for FlightSim 2024 with career mode support. This is early on. LatinVFR just released a native version of its Airbus A340 specifically made for FlightSim 2024. And while the aircraft was previously available and technically flyable in the sim, through legacy support, the update goes several steps further, leveraging 2024's new feature set, including career mode compatibility, passengers and pre-flight visuals like the engine covers and the pitot flags. The native A340 is now available exclusively via the InSim marketplace, an requirement for enabling career mode functionality. LatinVFR explained that this is due to the way FlightSim 24 handles mission tracking and the ratings. Right, career features will not work if the aircraft is installed manually through the community folder, so it has to go through the marketplace, which is mad, isn't it? Mad. Apparently, LatinVFR is treating this new version of the A340 as an advanced variant with the following features that set it apart from the version that was already available for the past year. They've customized the avionics suite with expanded autopilot capabilities, including, as they say, realistic LNAV, VNAV, full ILS and autoland support, holds, missed approach, route editing and more. It has the optional legacy avionics for simpler experience, a ton of real-world liveries, fully modelled cabin, VNAV implementation, updated flight dynamics and fuel system simulation, functional EFP with SimBrief integration, aircraft loading, weather, ground services and Navigraph charts, and it's capable of RNAV approaches. GPS approaches are supported now with RNAV approaches planned in a future update. And it's now working within the career mode, which could be a great thing if you like using the inbuilt career mode. Priced on the marketplace, $29.99. So there's something. Now, moving on. Sim Federation have released their rendition of an Embraer, the ERJ-145 for Microsoft Flight Sim. Sim Federation have released a new aircraft. These are the lads. Well, look, they brought out a Challenger, and I wasn't impressed by that at all. At all. I haven't got this yet, so I'm not going to slate it before I'll pick it up, I'll fly it and let you know what it is. It definitely looks better. But, there's more to life than visuals, right? But anyway, the 145 is now available on Sim Market for both 2020 and 24, though its arrival comes without much fanfare, right? The release marks Sim Federation's first attempt at bringing the popular Embraer ERJ family to the Sim, starting with the largest variant, the 145. Or smallest variant, I suppose. Developed in Brazil and introduced to commercial services in the late 1990s, the 145 became a staple of the regional fleets across the globe. The aircraft here modelled on a 145 in the original configuration, and according to Sim Market listing, the virtual version features a highly detailed exterior and interior model with 4K textures, including a fully modelled cabin and compatibility with VR headsets. The aircraft's real-world specs are also highlighted on the product page: a top cruising speed of 531 miles an hour, service ceiling of flight level 370, and a range just shy of 1,800 miles. Now, from the pictures, as I said, it looks kind of all right. Do you know? You can kind of see it here. The visuals look nice. There's nice textures and stuff here, isn't there? It's yeah. It's a hard one to well, actually, there's more there's more design in the headphones. But anyway, this is an aircraft that's also being actively developed by Flight Effects. So yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. There's no mention of custom systems or avionics or even flight model fidelity, areas which have drawn mixed feedback on the previous releases, that especially of the Challenger 350. I just wasn't impressed with that machine at all. This time, the screenshot provided by Sim Federation, at least there seems to be noticeable polish to the graphics. The aircraft does appear to be clean, well proportioned and convincingly integrated within Microsoft Flight Sim's visual engine. It's available now on Sim Market. It's priced in and around €30, compatible with both platforms, 2020 and 2024. And as I said, guys, if you're interested, if you'd like to see this, maybe you're looking for, an E145, not necessarily the study level aspect, but sure, let me know. I'll pick this up and we can go flying. But it is important to note that Flight Effects are also working on this. And what we've seen already, that looks incredible. So yeah, 100%. It's hard to call. Now, moving over to Hangar Studios, their latest release, a hybrid electric VTOL, the ATEA for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is a project that Hangar Studios has been working on for a while, and he was actually working with the manufacturer. The Ascendance ATEA, it's a hybrid electric VTOL developed in partnership with the French aerospace company, Ascendance Flight Technologies. The release is based on real-world aircraft currently under development and was created under a non-disclosure agreement specifically for use in both consumer and professional demonstration contexts. This is cool. I love when developers are able to get involved with, either pilots or ground crews, or even get access to the aircraft, or in this case, get access to the manufacturers. This is pretty cool because it just means there's a lot less for them to kind of figure out and wonder and dream about. You know what I mean? They have access to everything that they need. And Hangar Studios has been making some really, really nice aircraft. And when we first looked at the first releases from Hangar Studios, the Navion and so on, look where they've gotten now. He's doing a cracking job. But anyway, according to the developer, the Microsoft Flight Sim version of the ATEA was designed for inclusion in a full-scale cockpit simulator that will be featured at the 2025 Paris Air Show. Hangar Studios say that the digital model will be used in a demonstration set up by Ascendance Flight Technologies, where it'll run with a physical replica of the aircraft's cockpit. It's a 5-seat hybrid electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft intended for low-emission, Greta-friendly, regional operations and combines electric propulsion with aerodynamic efficiency for forward flight. First flight is scheduled for a little bit later on this year, with its certification planned for 2028. In the Microsoft Flight Sim version, the developer claims to have implemented a number of custom features intended to replicate the aircraft's projected performance. Mode switching between hover and cruise, custom-coded hybrid electric propulsion system, 10 individually animated propellers with separate logic for electric and combustion operation, a G3000 avionics suite with autopilot, full cockpit interactivity including startup flow and touchscreen, and custom sounds on engine reference materials. They also note that the model is optimized for PC and intended to function within the simulator's Xbox environment both on 20 and 2024. Nightstiff says, I flew on 24, seemed okay, but couldn't get it landing in hover mode. Ooh. It's so minimalistic in its design from the interior. Right? It's basically two iPads, your phone, and a couple of buttons. It's very, very basic looking. But the outside of it looks absolutely cool altogether, But anyway, this aircraft currently available for $4.99 US through the Hangar Studios website. The developer says that the ingestion process for release is well underway to get it into the Microsoft Flight Sim marketplace. It's $4.99, lads. And it's pretty cool. I like the story behind this. I mean, here he is working with a real-world aircraft manufacturer. The thing is going to be at the Paris Air Show. And, they're planning to get this thing certified, and we're going to see this stuff. These are going to be the norm. Mad, isn't it? Mad. Creo is here. Good to see you. 98 Vulcan, welcome aboard, buddy. Hope you're well. It's an interesting machine. Now, tonight, we will be checking this one out. Black Square's Starship arriving on June 19th for Microsoft Flight Sim. There we have the date. It's coming out next Thursday. That's 1 week from tomorrow. isn't it? Yes. 1 week from tomorrow, Black Square's ambitious Beechcraft Starship finally has a confirmed release date. Just Flight have announced that the aircraft will be available for the sim on Thursday, June 19th. The price for this machine is going to come in at €39.99 Great British pounds, €44.95 or $54.99 US dollars. The initial launch will take place exclusively on the Just Flight store, with a broader rollout to other third-party vendors, and eventually the in-sim marketplace is expected to follow. If you've been following along with the development, and Just Flight have published a number of videos on their website with Nick taking us through the paces of the aircraft, well, you already know it's very far from your typical airplane. It looks friggin' nuts, right? Black Square have spent several months showcasing their meticulous systems modelling, and the Starship, packed full of analog instrumentation, custom avionics, and a deep failure simulation system. With the new aircraft add-on, Black Square continues chasing a kind of realism that gets right into the technical guts of the aircraft. The real Beech Starship wasn't the most successful. It was a very ambitious design. It was so far ahead of its time in terms of the systems and navigation options and so on. It had a forward wing, canard design, right? Launched in the 1980s, and the first business class composite aircraft. Fascinating bit of machine. But anyway, what we're going to do, there's a whole series already available over on the Just Flight website. It's getting yourself acquainted with this aircraft. A lot of people might be looking at this going, right, it's lovely, but I can't get my head around it. Don't worry. Keep watching the stream and we'll go through it, because I think this is going to satisfy the most avid flight simmer and also someone who's just brand new into the whole gig. I think you're really going to enjoy this. So the marketplace should be coming a little bit later, and that's going to have it up and running in 2020, I believe, or at least it'll be on the marketplace, and it should be working then on Xbox after that. But certainly for the initial release, it's going to be out on PC, and you're going to pick it up over on the Just Flight website. So as I said, Nick is going to be joining us now in a little while as we kind of take a delve in on that machine. Now, word here from aircraft, helicopters. Yes, the Bell 407 Echo 19. This is one. It's a realistic sound upgrade. We had a very quick look at this back on a couple of weeks ago, and it was in FlightSim 24. And it just so happened that the 407 wasn't playing nice. However, everything's being updated on this. The release is now available for both 2020 and 2024, and it is the latest release from Echo 19. It's part of the Precision Audio Pack, and lads, the sound is just unbelievable, right? Echo 19 have been pushing out the sound packs. We've seen the F-18, the P-51, and the Bell 407 now marks their third standalone release. And I don't know if there's music on this that could be played. It should be just sounds, I think. Let's just see. We'll press the button. Where are we now? Hang on. Like, when you hear the sounds, like, frightening. Like, those sounds are absolutely insane. I better go back to the start. He loves the graphic. Hang on, you have a look at this. Shh. Ooh.
2311, engine 231, engine 251.
I need that information.
Okay. Please give me a rundown of the views I have.
Engine 52, transfer station, engine 36, another transfer.
Operational obstruction seen on the Delta. We got two engine coming to you. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Status alive.
Weather observation 1556 Zulu. Weather, wind, calm, visibility 1. What's going on here? This thing's split. 4
Number 2, starting up.
That is absolutely insane, isn't it? God almighty. It's like a movie intro, you know, starring Chuck Norris. Unbelievable. But yes, we're going to be using this in an upcoming series, actually tied in with the Time Machine Designs scenery. But yeah, from that trailer, you can definitely get an idea of the sounds. And like, I can't remember who said it first. I think it was Hammy back in the day. Like, the importance of sounds when it comes to you know, aircraft in a flight sim. They are so important. Like, the plane could be kind of mediocre, but you put like proper sounds in there, and look what it's done. I mean, the P-51, the F-18, you know, they're not exactly, you know, high fidelity add-ons, but with those sounds, man, they're so enjoyable to fly. And this one, definitely looking at it, right? Yeah, Tyler, straight into the cinema. But anyway, lads, you can pick this up right now. It's available for just $9.99 for both sims, and you can pick it up over on the Echo 19's own web store or Orbx Direct, and it's going to be coming to the marketplace. So all going well there. That's fantastic news. Well done, Echo 19. Now, moving on, Captain Sim's Boeing 717 has released for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Captain Sim has released its version of its 717 base package for Flight Sim 24, available through the marketplace. And, well, this was out before. It's just got... Wasn't this out before? I think it was. It's updated anyway for 2024 and upgraded. Features a highly detailed model, fully modeled cabin, 8K texturing, authentic cockpit and flight deck, custom autopilot and systems, a custom FMS, realistic animations, dynamic lighting and rain effects, authentic cabin sounds, 2 liveries and more. Right? You can purchase this base pack through the marketplace. It's priced at around $29.99, and there's going to be additional livery packs available, including air transports and classics, North American operators, so on and so on. This for a Captain Sim aircraft, there's a lot more going on here. There's a lot more going on here. I had this in 2020. When I first got it, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. It's not the traditional what you would expect. There's actually quite a bit going on here, and they've actually spent a lot of time on the avionics. Now, flight modeling and all that, couldn't tell you. It never flew in a 717, but I thought the feature list was quite good. The visuals look pretty good, and we've known this already from some of their latest offerings from Captain Sim, in particular their C-130 aircraft. But I thought this was pretty good, right? So, yeah, look, that's another aircraft. If you want it kind of checked out, evaluated on a live stream prior to you having to go off and pay for it, I'm more than happy to check it out for you, and we can have an old discussion around it. Now, moving on quickly now, Murph, you're almost late. FS2 Crew have brought their airline crew simulation to the iFly 737 MAX. FS2 Crew released its latest voice and button-controlled airline crew simulation, this time tailored for the iFly 737 MAX, and the new edition brings the familiar SOP1 procedures from the PMDG 737 into the iFly cockpit, offering simmers a new level of procedural depth and crew interaction in the aircraft. If you used any of these before, especially on the 737, you should feel right at home. It's essentially the same standard operating procedure package adapted to integrate with the iFly 737 MAX, both passenger and cargo variants. It simulates a 2-person airline crew with the virtual first officer acting as pilot monitoring, while you remain as the pilot flying. Procedures follow generalized Boeing workflows and include an array of cabin and purser announcements, plus it has GSX integration. According to FS2 Crew, the product is designed to work out of the box with the iFly MAX in both 2020 and 24. However, not everything is fully automated yet. The system currently cannot pull certain FMC data like the V1, VR and transition altitudes, cruise level, all that kind of stuff has to be entered manually into the departure briefing. The good news is there is a temporary walk around. FS2 Crew say it has coordinated with the iFly development team, who have agreed to support FMC data access in an upcoming update. That's good to note. There's also a revamped command system on the screen panels to assist users with each phase of flight. You can pick this up now for €29.99, and where is it from? It's over on the fs2crew.com website. A €5 discount being offered to loyal customers with the coupon iFly737. Ooh. So yeah, I mean, look, I used one of the FS2 Crew stuff before. It's actually quite good. It's a real way of kind of structuring your flights in the flight deck, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's pretty cool. As a fellow audio engineer too, what mics do you guys use? Look, Energizer, mad to figure it all out. But then I'd have to fly the 407 over me 45. Epic Fool, good to see you, buddy. Corn Wolf is here as well. Welcome in, lads. Right, moving on. Released iniBuilds Providence, Rhode Island, has been released today, I just think, and it could have been yesterday. They've just released Providence, Rhode Island. No ordinary airport, because this one includes the airport, but it also includes the FS Expo 2025 convention. It's all set up here. Another airport we're going to be checking out later on this evening, but as you can see from the trailer here from iniBuilds, the detailing on this is quite staggering. Absolutely amazing. The airport is fully in there. They've been working with a lot of folks in and around the Rhode Island neck of the woods, and with the airport is detailed with interiors and the terminal and all this. They've also done the Omni hotel is there, and they have done the interior of the Rhode Island Convention Centre, and it's giving you a preview of what FS Expo is going to look like. This is pretty cool. You can see the FS Elite stage is there. You got SayIntentions in there. It's pretty cool. So we're going to be checking this one out tonight. There's a Hooters near the airport. Muse, you asked me to find you that. Right. Just in time for Expo. Yeah. Is Murphy's Bar modelled? I don't think so. It will be after this, though. Do you know, we'll have to ramble down there. But it looks like a superb airport. And iniBuilds, no strangers to making some incredibly good, detailed airports. So we're going to be checking this one out there later this evening. The features, of course, include all the up-to-date taxiway layouts, terminal buildings, taxiways. The signage is spot on. What else do we have? You know, up-to-date terrain and mesh. Phenomenal stuff. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. No, I'm not in it. There might be a Skoda somewhere, though. I need to go looking. But yeah, far more than just the terminal. And there's actually comparison shots to the sim versus real life. I thought that was pretty cool. That was nicely put together. So yeah, it's great to see. The iniBuilds team spent a lot of time there, and they managed to do all of this. Now, in saying that, though, it's not the only Providence scenery in town. Dreamflight announced their rendition of Providence coming soon. And a couple of days since iniBuild's surprise announcement, flight simmers will have not one, but 3 scenery. 3? Who's the other one? Fly to High. Jesus, they're all trying to make it now. Dreamflight Studios have only shared 2 images, but mentioned in their announcement that they have put an incredible amount of care into every detail to make it the most realistic airport yet. From the airport terminal interiors to the tiniest ground markings, everything has been crafted for an immersive experience. But of course, no mention that they're going to have a virtual flight sim expo, so there's that. No release date, no pricing, but yeah, there's more than one show in town for folks looking for Providence, Rhode Island. I think, though, I mean, you know, it's going to be the iniBuilds one. Happy to check out the other ones, but the fact that they've put in the convention centre and all that, I think that was class, you know. Now, Drzewiecki Design. Did you like that pronunciation? They've previewed its upcoming Western Sydney scenery. Drzewiecki Design have previewed some new screenshots and given a small update of their upcoming Western Sydney International Airport, Yankee Sierra Whiskey Sierra, for FlightSim 2020 and 24. The developer mentioned that they've been refining both the visuals and systems behind the sceneries at work. On the terminal continues steadily, whilst the CGL-based terrain has been further improved with more accurate grass tones and painted over sand for a realistic blend. Structures and jetways have been repositioned to their initial docked state, and the new fuel pump vehicles have been built to add to the fleet of custom ground service equipment. New visual docking guidance systems, there we go, have been in place, along with the gates and the signs, hangars, and also the ILS setups. Parking barriers, cones, police car liveries, they've all been enhanced and updated since work continues on. It looks pretty. Western Sydney. I don't know, any of you guys flown in there? It looks nice, doesn't it? Hey, Steiny's here. Good to see you, man. I don't know, is that like a before and after? Interesting. Drzewiecki do incredible work, lads. We've seen it already. You've seen like the Boeing sceneries they brought out in Seattle and that. So no release date or pricing has been confirmed yet, but this looks to be their next working project. And gotta say, man, this looks very impressive. Like, do you remember the work they did in Seattle and that? Unbelievable. ImagineSim have released Dallas-Fort Worth for FlightSim 2024. The release only a couple of weeks since this was released. They've now launched a new version for FlightSim 2024. KDFW Kilo Delta Foxtrot Whiskey, or Dallas Fort Worth, has now been released for Flight Sim 2024. Well known, one of the world's largest and busiest airports. It's on a site of over 17,000 acres. Right, we've checked this out in Flight Sim 2020, and they're saying the new version is a result of thousands of hours of research and development, and they're able to take the advantage of Microsoft Flight Sim 2024's rendering engine and also the performance enhancements, which is a huge thing because we've seen it with iniBuilds. They can build multiple parts of the airport in extremely high detail because the way the sim is engineered, if you're looking within this kind of box, well, the box behind you and the box ahead of you, they're unloaded, meaning that you can cram a whole lot of more data into a certain area. So this would be really good to see this. Notable features of the 2024 release: all 7 runways covering the full airport, 5 detailed terminals including the construction site for Terminal F, extensive cargo operations, custom SafeGate visual docking guidance, interactive animated jetways, high definition building textures, comprehensive LOD optimization, immediate cache loading for minimal similar impact, newly implemented Skylink, and also configuration support via the ImagineSim Operations Center. That allows you to kind of turn stuff off to give you a bit of performance back if you're struggling. It's a free upgrade if you already own the 2020 version. If not, you can go over to the ImagineSim website. You can pick it up from there. It's a huge scenery. Dallas Fort Worth, like, it's a massive airport. I've been there twice, and every time I'm there, I'm like, huh? Right, it's huge. And I think these guys have done a great job. So yeah, plus our very own old veteran does a bit of VATSIM in there. So that should be fun. Now, Orbx have released Brisbane International Airport version 2 for the sim. The teasers back in February. Orbx have now launched Yankee Bravo Bravo November Brisbane International version 2 for flights in 2020 and 24. The updated version brings a much needed refresh to one of Australia's busiest airports, incorporating real world changes as of June 2024 and an extensive visual overhaul aimed at enhancing both the accuracy and the atmosphere. All right. If you've flown in or out of Orbx's original airport, well, you know it was starting to show its age. Version 2 addresses that. Reworked all the layout, upgraded visuals, new features that have all been put in as well. Some of the pictures here you can see, like, it looks very, very nice. Do you know, Orbx do make some crackers here. Have a little video here to give us a quick taster of it. Let's see how this works. And as this is running here in the background, we'll have an old gawk at this and see what it looks like, will we? Do you know, it could be good. Massive updates. See those comparison shots? Fantastic. Brizzy, yeah, looks great, lads, doesn't it? Looks absolutely amazing. Great work there from Orbx. And as I said, you can pick this up. It's available for $25.99 Australian. Those who originally had version 1 can upgrade at a discounted price of just $8.99 Australian. So great stuff there from Orbx. Nicely done. Now, I said it, we'd include this briefly. Flight Factor releasing a new update for its 7576 aircraft over on X-Plane. I flew the 76, started it first time, didn't have an issue at all, lads. I mean, even I was impressed with how well Larry and Ali could come to my rescue, right? But anyway, the updates also include that for the 7.5 and the 7.6, which is currently in a beta mode for X-Plane 12, and they've also teased some 757 updates when it comes to its virtual cockpit, and a couple of new, just a single render, but it's great to see these aircraft getting a lot more attention now in X-Plane. Flight Factor, I think their flagship aircraft has to be their 777 version 2. It is an absolute masterpiece, and it's great to see the 7.5 and 7.6 these are actually officially endorsed by Boeing, these aircraft. So there's a lot of systems to them, and you can see some of the changes that they make here as well. Very, very exciting stuff from Flight Factor. So yeah, a 757 overhaul again is going to be underway. We only saw a massive update to that about 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe. So yeah, very, very exciting. I flew the 76 the other day, and yeah, after I got it up and flying, man, what a great airplane to fly. Real nice to fly. So yeah, didn't have any issues with the startup at all. Right, in the last bit of news, let's press some buttons over here before we do this, because I need to make sure. Hang on now. This is where the pings start. Let's see what happens. I want to look at some events, right? And over to the VATSIM-radar.com, and some VATSIM events happening this weekend, right? So we do have some stuff. Celebrate Independence Day early with the Centre's 4th July pre-party, and enjoy a night of high traffic quality ATC and patriotic spirit. The Washington ARTCC will be fully staffed and ready to light up the East Coast sky, featuring 3 of our busiest airports: Washington Dulles, Reagan International or Reagan National, and also Baltimore in Washington as well. Whether you're flying transcontinental routes or regional, or maybe general aviation, you can jump in there. That's happening on June 13th between 7 p.m. and 11 Eastern, or that's 23 to 0300 Zulu. So there's an event happening over in the United States of America. There's other stuff happening over the weekend as well. VATSIM Elite Wings. This is where they really kind of turn the dials up, right? And they're very little help. Expect no help. I mean, they're busy, they're staffed up, and the whole idea is they make this entire experience as real as possible. So that's, if you're up for that one, the VATSIM Elite Wings is happening there as well. So plenty of stuff going on over the weekend on VATSIM, plenty of flights happening out. We're flying ourselves tomorrow night on VATSIM. I'm going to be taking out the Phoenix as we fly out of Ronaldsway on the Isle of Man, and we're going to head down to Guernsey. Really looking forward to that. So Sinead, that kind of covers the news. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time. You take it. I'm only messing. So what we're going to do next will be the Janie then. There's Chase plane reloading. What we're going to do now, I'm going to press some buttons, right? Let's see what happens here now. Now, you know the way I'm mad into editing. Here is good. So here is good. And I'm going to press a button. This could be hilarious now. Hello? Can you hear me? I think what it is. So Richard is going to join us here now in a moment, but you have to listen through on Discord rather than the stream, because there will be, I think it's like a 8-second delay.
Oh, hello.
We love technology. There's night break. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Hang on a second. I'll press a button now. Wait till you see this. Look, buttons on the screen. I'm at a break and be this. Right, hang on. I need to press another button. 1 second now. Don't go anywhere. You look great.
There's the feedback.
There's feedback. Oh, so if you mute the stream on Twitch, that'll fix it.
I can hear you, but I can hear you. Oh.
You can hear me. Okay, we have buttons and stuff on the screen. Look at this highly detailed stuff now. So if you were to mute everything on Twitch, if that's possible, right, and then just listen to me on Discord, would that make sense?
Cool. That. How's that?
That sounds great. How are you?
I'm good. I've got visual running here, but it's obviously. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that.
Look at Fantastic that, right? Stuff. You know, no enhancements needed. Fantastic.
It works.
I'm as surprised as you are. Don't worry, Richard. You're most very welcome. I haven't got to speak to you since FS Weekend a little bit earlier on this year in the Netherlands, and the project that you've started. I was fascinated by it because it wasn't just the scenery. It wasn't just, you go off and make something yourself. This is a huge project involving, there was universities involved, there's real world data involved. How did you come across this project?
So the origins of it are in another add-on called Arrows Across America, which folks might be aware of. Which we started in 2022 and gets you 4,500 miles of visual navigation across the US using arrows and beacons from the US airmail system in the 1930s.
Wow.
And so that's a whole other thing that three of us have been working on since 22. That gave me the idea that there might be interest from the community in other types of historic sites that we could put together.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with the idea of Hadrian's Wall, just frankly because I thought a lot of people might have heard of it and it might be just an interesting thing to fly. I didn't know exactly how I was going to deliver it to begin with, but then I fell into a conversation with the folks at an outfit called BoomSat, which is a training organisation in Bristol.
Okay.
And between us, we came up with a plan that if I did the research, we could then engage some of the students at BoomSat who are all involved in game design and game art to actually build the add-on, build the scenery with me. So we started that in 2 years ago, July. The folks that work with me, there have been 9 folks now working on it with me 1 day a week. We engage them as freelancers, so they're in a design studio environment, working on putting the add-on together for us. And we released into the marketplace in March. So yeah, the idea was really just to see whether or not we could use all of the technology that Microsoft had bought in terms of digital twin of the planet, the weather system, and so on and so forth, but actually use it essentially as a time machine. That's the basic idea. So with the add-on, you're going back to a representation of Hadrian's Wall as it may have appeared in 180 AD, so getting on for 2,000 years ago. And as you've said, we've worked with the university up in Newcastle and with Tyne and Wear museums to try and make it as accurate as possible. One of the kind of principles for this kind of work for me is that we try and work with experts. We try and make it as accurate as we can. So everything that you see in the representation is based either on excavation reports or it's based on the literature. It took me about 3 months to kind of digest all of the material that's out there. And what you've got is a 73-mile wall from one coast to the other. 78 of those mile castles, so that's what's just disappearing off the screen there. So those are the little forts that were built every Roman mile along the wall. 158 turrets, and then 18 legionary forts, and now they're villages. We're about to release an update that's got the villages in it. And I've had another group of students working with me over the last 6 months, putting together a set of buildings so that we can put the harbours in at Newcastle. So there are 3 harbours associated with Hadrian's Wall. So what you'll get is a sense of what the northern frontier of the Roman Empire looked like 2,000 years ago. And just that view's perfect because you can see where the wall is tracking up the hillside there. We stopped counting when we hit 5,000 landscape modifications.
Wow.
So we've cleared out trees, roads, houses, 11 miles of Newcastle upon Tyne. And where the wall crosses the 3 rivers, the rivers no longer follow the course that they did 2,000 years ago. So we've redirected the rivers so the bridges are in the right place, not move the bridge to accommodate river.
That's
so
incredible.
You've got just extensive manipulation of the landscape. And then every single site that's been excavated, we've modelled based on the excavation reports. So where forts have been excavated, we've then built the individual structures in the fort based on the excavation reports and so on. And then for sites that have not been excavated, because the Romans kind of used a broadly similar template for each of their forts, we've then constructed those forts using the structures that we've actually got access to. The other sort of design feature and what kind of where the project takes you into essentially having to do your own historical research is that no one really knows what the 158 turrets look like. There are 3 different designs for the way in which they might have appeared above first floor level or ground floor level. So what I've done is match one turret to each of the 3 legions who are known to have built the wall, they built them sort of leapfrogging each other. So if you want to go right down the rabbit hole, as you're flying along the wall, you've got a visual cue as to which of the three legions built the stretch of the wall that you're flying over. So
it's quite staggering, and like it's far more than just the wall, right? I mean, that's what intrigued me about this, because I remember talking to you, I was like, yeah, look, well done, it's great to see a wall, and you were like, no, there's far more than that. There were three separate legions. They were given effectively an ancient blueprint. This is how a wall should look. Get out there and start building it. And they had to figure that out for themselves. And I remember you were sharing with me, you found areas that, according to the plans, there's supposed to be a door right there. Now, that door could be 20 feet up in the air. Who are they to question the blueprint? So they built it, which was staggering. And the fact that you're able to put that in, and as you quite rightfully mentioned, the digital twin, and I think this is what's very exciting about the flight sims of today, in particular with Microsoft Flight Sim, because Jorg's passion project has been creating the digital twin, and look what we have now. Something ordinarily, if you get the chance to visit Hadrian's Wall in the UK, I mean, there's parts of it still there, but to get an idea of a sense of what it represented, how actually big it was, and how many forts and little areas along that wall that were actually back in the day. It's quite staggering, and it's only a flight sim like Microsoft Flight Sim that you can actually do that in. And it's actually very exciting then, because you're thinking, well, what else can you do with this? Do you know what I mean? It's like, is there a way to bring back, ancient sceneries? And you've said this was, started you off with the arrows across America. I mean, you can literally transform yourself virtually back into that time. It's quite amazing. But like, I imagine the research here alone. I mean, I'm big into Roman history, and like Hadrian, fascinating character. His kind of stepdad was Trajan. Trajan went on to be emperor. He was quite aggressive when it came to expansion. Hadrian was very kind of conservative, hence we have the wall. And sure, his heir, once or twice I think down the line, was Marcus Aurelius. Like, huge part of history around the wall. And he was far more than just a wall. But as you mentioned, I mean, you're able to focus in on the legions. But not only that, I mean, when you look at the wall and you say, right, well, the wall represented the very corner of the empire, right? It was like, this is where it begins. And imagine what it must have been like, for the native folks, right? You're building a wall across my field. And wouldn't you love to see, like, okay, but here's someone who lives north of the wall versus here's people who live south of the wall. And you can almost visualize that now, because by clearing out the scenery, and even moving rivers, right? The layout and the location of rivers has changed, obviously, in 2,000 years. But you were able to map all of this as well. Like, does that come specifically from walking the sites? Does it come from satellite terrain? Does it come from the digs?
It's a bit of everything. So we've made 2 field trips up there, and have taken measurements from individual sites and so on. We've worked from vast amount of literature in terms of what's been written about Hadrian's Wall, and a whole stack of excavation reports. One of the fun things about that was that in the time that we've been working on the project, there's been an excavation in Newcastle which has located one of the turrets in Newcastle. For reasons that are still not clear, it's not where it's supposed to be. So because the Romans built very systematically, it's all on a regular pattern. Turret 3A is not where it's supposed to be. So we moved it within 48 hours of the excavation reports being published. So what you see as you fly through Newcastle is the location of 3A as it is now, not as it would have been interpreted 6 months ago.
Wow.
So there's a whole, we're able to kind of basically develop the whole project on a sort of dynamic basis as new research comes in. And I think you're absolutely right. The thing that struck me most about Hadrian's Wall as an undertaking, so it's 15,000 blokes, 6 years, is the psychological impact that it must have had. So when you've spent time building it out like this, we've gone with the current consensus that it was whitewashed on at least the north side. And so you get a kind of sense of it from where you are in the wall, on the wall just here. when you see that wall cutting through the landscape, just on a pattern, just a rhythm that is constant, to have been on the north side, so on the wrong side of the empire, must have been, it must have messed with your head something terrible before you even get to whether or not it was defensive or a trade barrier or, all the other debates that are important. But actually to stand on the wrong side of the empire and just look up that slope and just see a wall, and there's no way you're getting through that, it's kind of, the psychological impact is just huge, really.
It really is. And tell me, what was it like then for the archaeologists who were working on the dig? I mean, they would have seen this, right? I mean, there's no way they would have been able to visualize what they were working at ground level. I mean, to get this perspective of it, what was the reaction like?
Well, that's the bit that's been really, really interesting. So I'm working with the Vindolanda Trust up at Hadrian's Wall at the moment, who manage 2 of the fort sites and excavations. And I was up there a few weeks back, meeting a whole group of folks from their archaeology team, from English Heritage, from National Trust. And I think it really has kind of helped create a new perspective for them. So what you often get is digital reconstructions of individual buildings or an individual fort. But I'm told that this is the first time anyone's managed to pull off the entire system in a single kind of digital model in a single setting. So just in the last week, we've been commissioned by the World Heritage Site team up there to produce some short films using Hadrian's Wall 180 as kind of trailers, essentially, and content for education and engagement work, which is really exciting from our point of view. So we've, created something that is, it's a properly different kind of interpretation just because of the scale we've been able to operate at. And obviously, as everyone knows, with the weather engine as well, we can essentially create, any weather condition up there that you like. That's taken us into a whole other field of exploration, really. So I'm working with a guy down at Exeter University who is researching essentially signalling systems along Hadrian's Wall. So what could you see from where and in what weather conditions? All of his work and all the work that's been done around that previously has been theoretical and using things like GIS and sort of software like that. What we're able to do is to put a beacon on top of a turret and then play around with the weather condition, absolutely just like that.
Yeah.
So that you can actually test ideas about how far you could see, what signaling systems might have worked, to the extent that we've even demonstrated how much wind you'd need for a smoke signal to disperse and therefore it to not be effective.
Wow.
Matt has now been using footage that we've created for him in conferences illustrating the research that he's doing. So it's sort of growing exponentially, really, in terms of the applications and what we're able to do with it.
It's amazing. It's amazing that you can kind of visualize these things now. I mean, look, you can go onto YouTube. There's plenty of documentaries and there's artist impressions and even works that that archaeological digs have brought to us. But as you say, to experience this all coming together in a digital space that you can explore, and of course mix it with aviation, because aviation is the best way to see this, be it in fixed wing or rotary. It boggles the mind to think, well, this was all done and these are all hand placed. It isn't procedural stuff. I mean, you've looked at areas to say, well, records indicate there was a fort or there was a town or a village, and it would have been on obviously this side of it. It was near a forest. I mean, these are all the things you can kind of build in. And what I don't want to say what simplifies it a little bit, because clearly it doesn't, as you said, with the 3 different legions having their own take on what a turret should look like. Well, the Romans were the early day flat pack IKEA, right? I mean, here's the plans, go off and build a forum. And Rome was actually the complete opposite. Rome was a pure mess of changing systems and winding roads. Everywhere else in the empire, straight roads, here's your forum, here's your temple, here's your library. It was, you could be standing in, what do they call it? Britannia back in the day, right? And you could direct yourself around somewhere in Turkey. And that's the way the Roman places were built. You've nailed it with this as well. Like, it's incredible. What else can a project like this do? I mean, yes, it's highly appealing for those who the historians and those who are interested in the Roman history, of course. But I don't want to say gaming elements, but in terms of like challenges and exploration, is there anything that you can add to this scenery in terms of, you mentioned walking, is there things kind of planned for later developments?
Yeah, absolutely. So a really interesting thing that keeps on happening when we demo it is that people say how relaxing it is to fly along it. So because it's laid out on a regular system, people kind of will start flying along at 1,000 feet, and they just see this regular pattern of turrets, mile castles, and forts, and so on. And people the first person who said it, I thought, that's interesting. The 20th person who said it, I'm kind of thinking, this is really, really interesting. So there's something going on there. We've also been working with some schools in Bristol where we've been using it as a tool for science and engineering. So we've run air races along the wall.
Nice.
We've set people a task, pairs of students a task of taking aerial photos of different sites. So there's an awful lot of aerial photography used in the archaeology for all of this. So you can set things up so one person flies, the other one is the observer, and what they need to try and do is get a aerial photo of the fort at Housesteads, so we can do all of that with it. Once we get it across into 24, I've got a couple of conversations going on with charities about the potential for folks who couldn't physically walk along Hadrian's Wall. We think there's probably a way that you could do a virtual charity walk along Hadrian's Wall using 24. So you can start at Bowness and we can just set it so that you walk the 73 miles in real time. So if you fancy spending a week walking along Hadrian's Wall, that's the bridge at Chester's. That's one of the rivers that we moved. Then all of that becomes possible as well. So there's all sorts of different ways in which it's potentially going to be used. Ultimately, what I'm hoping we can do, although if there's anyone from Microsoft here, we probably need a bit of a conversation about exactly how the licensing works. But we've got interest from museums in running it on an Xbox. They'll buy an Xbox, the Sim, and Hadrian's Wall 180, and just run it as a part of their museum experience. So we've got whole raft of possibilities, really.
I've often said I kind of live by forgiveness is easier than asking for permission.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is staggering, and like, if you were able to make this into a project, I just say even for walking, I mean, think about what you could do from a virtual tour, right? I mean, you can put in placards with information. You can do an awful lot of stuff there.
We're working on 20 Iron Age hill forts for anyone that's kind of into his sort of archaeology. They are huge monuments in the landscape, roughly contemporary with certainly the Roman Empire. And one of the things we're looking at for that is to plumb in footage to a guided walk app. So you'll be able to walk to one of these hill forts, and as you walk up towards it, you zap on a pin. And it's kind of a lightweight AR because you're out in the countryside, and so there's not much in the way of signal. So you get a perspective of the hill fort as you approach it, and then we can create a narrated flyover once you get up there. So we're working on that with an archaeologist over in Somerset, and we've got several other projects like that are in the mix as well. So yeah, one of the principles that we work to is we'll build it once and then we'll try and use it as many times as possible.
Yeah.
So the content can be reworked.
What's staggering here also is the LOD. Now, I imagine that's going to be a huge challenge on 2024, right?
Yeah. We've had a bit of a problem in 20 with the villages, so we're working that through at the moment, and it's definitely a bit of a challenge with 24. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, the biggest issue is just the accuracy of the topography. So in terms of dropping the wall in along its line, we're having to kind of reverse engineer everything now into 24 because the 24 scenery is being bought into 2020 at the beginning of next month.
Yeah. So
that's going to cause us a bit of a problem. The other thing, the sort of other fun fact, if you like, about the whole project is that I assumed that the guys that were doing all the technical stuff would start with the wall and then build the forts and everything else.
Yeah.
they were very clear at the beginning that no, that's not the way we're going to do it, because the hardest thing is to drop the wall in over the topography, so you can see how it, just on that stretch, how it's following it. It took us about 6 weeks to figure out how to make that work.
Wow.
What that's meant is that we've built the digital version of Hadrian's Wall in the same order that the Romans built the original. So they built the mile castles and the turrets, and then connected the stretches with a third of a Roman mile of wall, because it's actually the most obvious way to do it, as it turns out, and the easiest way to do it.
Wow.
So we've ended up constructing the whole thing digitally in precisely the same order and the same sequence as the guys did.
That's great. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
time.
Amazing. Now, beyond just the product itself, which is the scenery, and it loads into your sim, I mean, you can actually, it draws the line perfectly across the north of the UK. It looks insane. But you've also included additional information in the documentation, 22 pages, a user's guide, providing just enough information, and that's if you can see on screen, that's how it looks like on the on your map. So you can actually hone in on certain areas, but you also explain more about it in terms of the different buildings, like 73 modern miles, or was around 80 Roman miles, converted back, 158 turrets, 4 bridges, 5,000 terrain modifications, like insane amount of work gone into this, and then you're able to delve into, well, look, this is how you managed to build it. I mean, you've measured the heights of foundations, you've measured existing walls that are still there, and you've managed to get all of that into the sim as well. And I mean, does it stop with Hadrian's Wall? I mean, does this now show you to say, well, do you know what, we can now work on other time areas, other timelines, other things in the world? And the reason why I'm asking, like, we've done historic flights, and we have Jeppesen. He brought back the ancient wonders of the world. And when you can see the power that a sim can provide to say, wow, that was there versus where it was, and you go anywhere today, every country in the world has something there. So is there anything perhaps you're looking towards the future to say, I kind of fancy that, I'm going to have a look at it?
My real interest is medieval castles. So okay. The Edward I castles around Snowdonia, North Wales, are on the roadmap. I need to get those out of my system. Essentially, any historic site that operates on this kind of large-scale landscape basis is fair game, really. Mm-hmm. So, as I say, we've got 20 of these Iron Age hill forts in the mix. And that's going to be interesting as well, because as you fly across it, you're going to get a sense of what that Iron Age landscape looked like, and those are territorial markers and all sorts of things. So we want to do that. I'd like to break out of the UK and start thinking about some sites elsewhere. I've got a bit of a thing about Barcelona at the moment.
Okay.
So Roman Barcelona was a really small town, and it sits right in the middle of the modern city. And the way that Barcelona has expanded, it's effectively like a set of onion rings. Mm. So there's some really interesting stuff that we can do with somewhere like Barcelona, where you can drop the Roman city in. You've then got the medieval city wrapping around it, and then the 19th century city. So all of that. And I can sort of give you a bit of an announcement this evening. We're also we're currently working on the first of what I'm hoping will be a series of historic airfields.
Wow.
So we're working on RAF Kenley, if anyone's aware of that sort of significant Battle of Britain airfield in South London. We're using the same principles and working from a whole set of Air Ministry drawings, so that every single structure on the airfield will be modelled according to its Air Ministry drawing, laid out according to the 1946 plan. And that's really fun, because we've got access to, there are 2 films, if you're aware of Reach for the Sky and Angels 1-5.
Oh, yeah.
Filmed in 1952 and 1955 on Kenley Airfield. So the team have got an excuse to watch old black and white films. We've photo stamped or time stamped structures, so flight offices, dispersal pens, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to give that one a go and see if we can put together some airfields, and that one will ship with 24 parking spaces. So I will be looking for volunteers to try and stage a scramble as part of the trailer. So I've got someone who's written a soundtrack that sounds like the theme tune of a black and white war film.
Brilliant.
So we're going to be looking to do all that. So really, we're kind of the problem we've got at the moment is there are almost too many sites to kind of work on. We're having to sort of pace ourselves a little bit because the folks I'm working with are only available 1 day a week. So there's a kind of constraint in how fast we can go. Although most of them are graduating this summer, and we're about to take them on sort of 2 or 3 days. So we'll have a much bigger development team from September.
Wow. And tell me, this released on the marketplace a little bit earlier this year. How has the reception been like? I mean, are you getting kind of inundated with wows and oohs and, you know?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I'd have to say it's definitely a bit niche. When you look at sort of airports like, you know, Providence and so on and so forth, this is definitely a bit niche. But what we tend to find is that the people who get it really get it, and they kind of, there's a Venn diagram for me of folks who are interested in simming, aviation, history, and archaeology. If you've got an interest in those things, then I'm hoping we've got something interesting for you to work with. So yeah, it's definitely niche, but as far as I can tell, no one else is out there doing it. So we'll just keep on going.
It is great to see, and like as a project, like I was fascinated just by the scale. I mean, it's you know, I mean, if you compare shots of this to where Hadrian's Wall is at now, you know, and some of it only, you know, a foot or two above ground at this stage in places, you know, or worse, trenches. You know, this just gives you such a sense of scale of what it was. And it's just very exciting to see, well, what's possible in our flight sims. I mean, yes, we're all, you know, aviation mad. We're mad to see the aircraft and different airports and, you know, keeping things current. But, you know, to be able to use a flight simulator for this, that's what completely staggers me. I'm like, how, you know, like, how is this even possible? So yeah, like it's hopefully, you know, any sort of kind of roadblocks along your path are lifted fairly quick, and you're able to get the help that you need. Now, listen, it looks great during the day. Have you any plans there, you know, that might be able to happen if we wanted to navigate in the evening time?
Oh, well, it's funny you should say that. Yeah. We have a night lighting update in the works, which is almost complete. So what we are planning to do is to remove all the street lighting along the course of the wall. And then we've installed torches outside the entrances to each of the turrets in the mile castles, and then the commander's house and the headquarters building in each of the forts. So what you will be able to do is turn all the lights off and then fly along Hadrian's Wall by the light of a series of, well, 150 odd torches.
Wow.
Those are all animated and dynamic. And we think we've worked out how we can also, just for the fun of it, put warning braziers on top of the mile castle turrets, and then we can use the proximity tech in the sim for someone to light a warning fire as you fly towards that particular bit of the wall. So we're kind of playing around with that, but certainly there'll be a custom night lighting system in the next couple of months or so that will ship as just a free update.
Fantastic.
Along probably with the harbour.
That's absolutely, yeah. Gondor calls for aid. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's mad. Like, I mean, you can see clearly Hadrian's Wall, as Gibbo mentioned, like, I mean, this was huge inspiration for Game of Thrones, as in, you know, the wall, the wildlings of the north. I mean, this is where, you know, a lot of inspiration comes from. A lot of Lord of the Rings stuff as well. And it's just class. I absolutely love this. And I cannot wait to see more. It is available from the InSim Marketplace. And as I said, it puts everything on the map for you. And we're going to be starting a series soon, because I was fascinated about the legions, because I was like, yeah, and I didn't know this. Murph, there was 3 legions. No, there was. And I want to figure out, well, where did they come from? Where did they raise the troops from? And, you know, what was it like, those 15,000 men having to build this over the course of 6 years? Like, what was, because like the British weather now, especially up that neck of the woods, it's not all sunshine, you know. So it would have been interesting how things were built and where they got the materials from, where were the quarries, and just the engineering behind it. Because, it was massive. Like 80 Roman miles or 70 odd miles that we have today. Like, that's incredible.
That the entire western third, so from the western coast to Carlisle, was originally built in turf. So one of the reasons why we chose 180 was that was the point at which the western third had been rebuilt in stone, and it's kind of peak Hadrian's wall, so everything had been constructed and put in. But to begin with, that first third was all built in turf. And I've just noticed in the YouTube chat, someone says the Limes would be a good next project. We're also looking into that. So the Limes is the frontier system on the continent, which runs down the Danube and the Rhine, and ultimately through the Middle East and North Africa. If I had a kind of an end goal for this, it would be to enable you to fly the entire frontier of the Roman Empire from Bowness on Solway all the way around to Libya. Wow. But it might take us a little while to get all of that sorted out.
A couple of weekends, overtime and
all
that.
Yeah. I mean, so we'll knock it out over the summer. It'll be fine.
It'll be grand, yeah. Now, Richard, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to explore this. And as I say, we'll do a series on this because I really want to, it's the most inviting bit of scenery to, shout at you to say, would you like to know more? And that's what I love about it, because it's far more than just a wall. As you say, it was a divide between classes. Was it for trade? Was it defensive? What must have it been like back here? And very much looking forward to the updates that you have on the way, in particular with the night torches. I think that's going to be absolutely brilliant. And I think it's a remarkable project, and it just goes to show what's capable of our flight sims now. It goes beyond aviation in a lot of ways, but you still manage to bring it back to aviation, which is awesome. And you can only... People are going to be racing this. There's going to be time trials. There's going to be a course put up here like Red Bull Racing and fly through the hoops. Right? How quickly can you do the 76 miles or whatever? It's going to happen, But
if anyone would like to try that out, I'd love to stage a race along it on different classes and so on.
Definitely. We'll have to check it out. I've never visited Hadrian's Wall, but now it's prominently on the list of places now to go. And it'd be great to get over there some stage just to check it out, because I'm now... Okay, you have the Great Wall of China and all the rest, don't get me wrong, but this, in its time where it was and what was going on with the Roman Empire at the time, this was, to me at least, it's beyond fascinating. It was like, what did they manage to do? And even by the change of one emperor versus the next, as I say, Trajan was very much conquering, and Hadrian was like, whoa, let's pull up the handbrake here now. I think he was the emperor who saw more of the empire, I think, than anyone else. He traveled around, and putting a wall here was like, well, put a wall there, so it's pretty fantastic. But Richard, to you and the team,
it's a bonkers idea, really.
It really is. We'll put a wall across the entire country, absolutely crazy. But no, Richard, to you and the team, fantastic stuff here, and thank you so much for bringing this to Flight Sim, because where else would we have seen it? But yeah, it's absolutely class. So we'll keep in touch. Once you have updates, let us know.
To be with you.
And we'll definitely get the race. And if you're looking for a few pilots for that other project, we definitely have a few lads here in the chat who would only love to do that. So
absolutely, I'll keep in touch with you about that one as well. But fantastic.
Thanks
ever so much.
Just one or two quick questions. If folks want to buy this now in the marketplace, is there going to be a 2024 version, or if they buy one, they have access to both? Is it a separate purchase?
No. If you buy the 2020 version, then the 24 version will ship as an update for that. We do have a kind of an advanced version in mind, which will add the interiors of some of the buildings. Mm-hmm. So we want to get to that point, but for the base 24 version, you'll get that if you've got the 2020 version. So we're hoping to bring it across to 24 in the autumn, but we need the topography to settle down, the sort of terrain models to settle down, because every time Asobo improve it, we have to relay the wall, which one of my guys has built the central section 4 times now, and he's getting a little bit bored of that. So we need it to sort of settle down a little bit.
I can imagine anytime there's a world update, you're like, don't be the UK, don't be the... And meanwhile, everyone's like, be the UK. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was World Update 17 was the UK one, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that messed it to the extent that you could fly between the ground level and the bottom of the wall in
dear.
some of the sections. It threw it out that much, which was kind of fun to begin with, and then we realised just how much work was involved.
Yeah. Oh no, awesome stuff. Right, Richard, we should let you go, but listen, thank you
lovely.
very much
Thanks
indeed
so
for sharing all the news with us, and we'll chat to you soon.
Lovely. Thanks a lot. See you.
All right. Very good, isn't it? Brilliant. So yeah, lads, it is available over on the is this the right button? Right, the buttons are working. It's available over in the marketplace right now, and if you check out their website, I'll have a quick look here now. What I'm going to do, I need to exit this sim to fire up the next sim, and we'll have a look at their website as we're doing that, right? So what we're going to move on to next, we're going to be having a quick look at iniBuilds Providence as we load in the aircraft, and Nick from Black Square will be joining us very, very shortly. And a massive shout out to Just Flight for making the entire preview we're about to see in a few moments all possible. Just Flight today, of course, they have now released their updated version of the PA-38 Tomahawk, and great news from that. So we flew it the other day, checking out how the preview was, the walk around, everything's there as you would expect it, but it's better now in 2024. I love the Tomahawk. It's an awesome aircraft. So we'll do two things as this is loading up, right? So let's have a gawk here now. So buttons. So right now, Just Flight are offering a discount special offer ending on Wednesday, the 25th of June, for the PA-38 Tomahawk. And we'll close the sim here. Just bear with me now. Couple of nomade lads, couple of nomades. And let's see here now, because sometimes that Elgato keeps kicking out. Sometimes you have to hard close FlightSim 2020. I do believe it's a bug. So let me go and close that there now. Lovely job. And we're going to get FlightSim 24 up and running. Hayden is here. Good to see you. Falconer, you're very welcome aboard. Yeah, lads, very, very interesting from Time Machine Designs. Absolutely great stuff. But yes, with Just Flight, as I said, their Tomahawk is now available in 2024, and it comes with a massive update as well. There is a special price, 20% off right now if you don't own it. If you do own the Tomahawk in 2020, well, it's an update that'll work in 24. And Just Flight have continued doing that, updating their pre-released aircraft, which is it's incredible. It's incredible, particularly when it came to the Arrows and with the Warrior, considering how long ago they were released, right? And we got them in the sim for free updates in 24. The Tomahawk, not the fastest aircraft in the world, but definitely one of the funnest, because this thing will spin. It was affectionately known as the Tromahawk, and the idea being is, when Piper went off to build this aircraft, they were listening to what pilots and CFIs wanted. In contrast to this, the high wings Cessnas, the 150 or 152, well, they were way more stable in the air. Inducing a spin, forget about it. The aircraft would nearly recover itself. But not this thing. This was very, very different. The sounds of this aircraft, how it looks, the systems, the depth of navigation on this, it's spot on. I mean, we flew it, we did ADF, DME, VOR, GPS, we did the whole lot. It's a beautiful, beautiful airplane. That beautiful T-wing design as well. The T-tail at the back. And yeah, lads, if you haven't got this, what's wrong with you? All right. And if you do have it, well, do be sure you get your update. And for anyone who's in the market, it's 20% off right now. So incredible, incredible stuff there from Just Flight. Now, as this sim is loading, quick look back just over on the Time Machine Designs website. All right. And this spotlight is definitely on Hadrian's Wall, but we're going to be looking at that Arrows Across America as well. It's navigation back in the 1930s. It was arrows on the ground and beacons, and they put in different buildings and hangars. Some incredible work has gone into that as well. But you can click on the View Products page. Arrows Across America, which is free. You get a user's guide with it as well. And there's a couple of enhancements here to a couple of airports as well. Hadrian's Wall, lads, it's only £12.99. £12.99. And like, incredible, right? Absolutely incredible. The Arrows Across America, it's the old US airmail work. Brilliant. And it's of the same level of detail. Custom buildings, beacons, all that kind of stuff, Black Sheep Gene is here. Good to see you, Gene. You're welcome in. So on their website, they talk about it. But if you wanted to learn more about the project and what they did, it's the joint venture with Boom Satsuma, UK-based education provider, and yeah, it's pretty cool now, pretty cool, and it was great to see it. And yeah, there's just what a cool thing to have in your sim. You know what I mean? Absolutely brilliant. So we're going to be doing a series on this fairly soon, because I want to learn so much more about it. The 3 legions who were involved, and also all the building and the challenges, and you know, what were the locals saying? You're not building a wall. Yes, we are. Hang on now, right? It didn't just appear. And of course, learn about Hadrian himself. I mean, we covered some of the main characters already in Roman history, be it Caesar and whatever. But yeah, Hadrian, fascinating character. This fella, you know. He was the stepson adopted of the Emperor Trajan, and well, then after him, I think I don't know, was it his adopted son? No, it was a senator. That's what it was. It was what was his name? Cassius something was the senator. He became the next emperor, and then after him became Marcus Aurelius. And that was, I think it was like the 5 great emperors, and then you led into like the other mad Egypts, you know, the other Caracalla and Nero and all this. But anyway, terribly interesting stuff. Now, moving on, we're going to have a quick look here at Providence, Rhode Island. And as I said, Nick is going to be joining us soon from Black Square. So we're going to load in with the aircraft. But we're going to look at the scenery first, if that's all right, just to give Nick a few minutes to get ready. So let me see. We're going to load in here into Providence. I should know where this is. I'm going there in 2 weeks. Here we go. Oh, they divvied it. And we'll load in now, and hopefully this all works terribly well. And we'll start over here on the... Actually, gives ourselves a bit of space. We'll start out over here. And that all looks good to me. Live time will do. And we're going to load in. So what we want to do here, we want to have a look at what iniBuilds have brought to us with the latest release from them of Providence, Rhode Island. It is the airport, but it's also the nearby convention centre, which I'm very excited to see, because we're going there in just a couple of weeks. Really looking forward to this, right? So as I said, we'll just give this a few moments to load in and do its stuff. This is the Black Square Starship. We're going to go into this in detail now in a moment as the frames kind of recover, and we're going to leave everything alone. I'm not going to touch it, right? As the scenery loads in, we want to look at the scenery first, and there's a great shot in behind your man's head. So let's just sit in here, say nothing now about the rest of it. We shall return to this absolutely mad looking thing very shortly. Very shortly. But let's go check out this scenery, all right? And again, anything from iniBuilds, you're going to be familiar when it comes to... It's the little things, but they make so much of a difference, right? You know, taxiways, runways, the markings, textures, weather socks, lighting, all that stuff. iniBuilds do a phenomenal job at this, right? So we'll go over it and start inspecting the airport, shall we? With moving vehicles and all the jazz, right? So we can see from here, as we're approaching one of the terminals, interiors are done. I mean, look at the jet. Look at that. The detail. And you got to love the new textures that are available now in Flight Sim 24, right? So inside the terminal, they've modelled, they're floating, but they've modelled them, right? Now, you're really going to go walking around? Well, to be fair, I do this the whole time, but it's just to give you an idea. They've modelled the interiors of the terminal. Because you can't be doing that, lads. Chaz, I need to talk to iniBuilds. Maybe there was an update. There probably was an update, and if not, there will be an update. So that's just one side of the terminal. This is where the thing gets savage, right? I mean, look, I didn't think Providence, Rhode Island Airport was this big. I mean, we've done flights here for VATSIM, right? But seeing everything kind of... Sure, look, aren't they only delighted to be here? What's Sahi Franks? Sahis. Are they sausages? Sahi Franks, lads, right? A half moon, look. Oh, I found the bar. Brilliant. Very interesting stuff. So, yeah, let's go in and explore a little bit more, because the terminal work they've done here is incredible. This is in-pass security, so we're going from the air side over to the, you know, land side. And beep, 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 beep. Let's ramble in over this way. Look at the architecture of that. Don't you love the way that can be captured now in a flight sim? It's absolutely class, look. Yeah, that is nice, isn't it? Like, there's 3 options. 3 options, right? iniBuilds are out there first, but I think there's 2 more, right? That's a nice touch. Bruce Sunderland, Governor of Rhode Island. Elevators and stuff. Welcome to Rhode Island. Look at this. Can we read this stuff? We can. Kinda can. Fly great to the Sunshine State. Where's the Sunshine State, lads? Right answers only. Right, go out the front door here. It is. Chris Evans. Chris Evans. Chris Van Halen. Good to see you, Chris. Jason, this is kind of nice, isn't it? Beautiful. Oh yeah, we're looking good here, lads. Now let me see. Buttons need to be pressed. Yeah. But nice to see this in real life. Nice little terminal. Yeah, it's pretty nice, isn't it? It's pretty nice. It's beautiful. Great rendition of it. It's a lot bigger than what I thought. Got the sky bridge here, look. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Skywalk to rental cars. Now we're actually flying into Boston as opposed to Providence, but they're doing day tours here, airside tours and all this sort of jazz as well. Look at that, it's huge. The whole airport is done. Absolutely phenomenal work here. And do you know what's gas about this, lads? The airport is only part of the scenery, which is very, very impressive. It's only part of the scenery. So what we're going to do, we're going to leg it and go downtown, right? No, yeah, 2 runways, look. Got a nice VOR station there right in the middle. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Interesting. Wonder, is there a base Providence running as well? Maybe there is. It looks phenomenal though. That's savage detail, isn't it? Right, let us go downtown because they have modelled this bit in as well, right? And we'll need to find the convention centre. Please be good, frames. Please be good. Photogrammetry for the win. And welcome now to downtown Providence. Look at this. Oh man, that's awesome. So we'll ramble in down this way. Now let's see, can I get me navigation right? Murphy's Bar, lads. Right? It's over here somewhere. Come out the door. I think it's there. Or it's very close to there. Murphy's, oh, hang on. That's a car park. Murphy's Bar. But anyway, here is the Omni. Isn't that the name of the hotel? Omni Hotel, right? So this is the spot where, well, that's where I'm staying, right? And here is the convention centre. Shall we ramble in for the gas? Oh, look at this. Hang on there now. Slow down your camera, Murph. Jesus. Look at this. iniBuilds all over the shop. You gotta love it. FS Expo. This is cool. The place is big, isn't it? FS Elite, fly the A220. That's pretty cool. And now we're into the expo. I was over there in the corner, look. Is this the FS Elite stage? I'd say it is. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Now you don't have to go, right? Ah, this is class. X-Plane, we don't know what's going on behind. What are they doing? It's all behind wraps. Top secret. All the VATSIM areas. Simionic. I think this is accurate. I'm going to do my homework on this now, right? Hang on there now. Fly with AI. Combat Air Patrol. That's going to be fun. Altimeter motives. Them lads are class. Them lads are class. FS Elite. DOF Reality. Fly Inside. More X-Plane. Wing. Navigraph. This is deadly, isn't it? Flightsim.com. Build-Tech Simulations, Corsair. We got SayIntentions there in the back as well. Who'll be this? More Wing. They're going to have a huge stall. Orbx, Honeycomb. FlightSim Studios are there. Contrail, Honeycomb, Patriot. No Patriot! But that's where they're putting the Patriot. That's mad. That's all the Parallel 42 stuff. FlightSim Web Shop. There's the FS Elite stage there. Aha! PMDG. Just Flight. Jesus then. Just Flight, you have cracking seats this year. Right by the stage, look. PMDG. Arrow. What do they call that? Was the Yaw Man or something, wasn't it? SayIntentions, and they have their own stage here as well. Brilliant. ARSim, AvNav, Thrustmaster, Meridian. Ah, this is class, isn't it? I have an old build. Fair enough. I have the old build. Fair enough. Well, then we'll keep that in suspense. Jefferson says, yeah, did they have the aircraft there to do? Are we still in the bar? Yeah. Just Flight are currently in the bar. Their booth is now digitally made, but you'll find them in the bar. That's a great spot Just Flight are in, isn't it? Right by, look at that. People want to come over for a sandwich and they're going to be there with Just Flight. I love that. That's brilliant. Fantastic stuff. Where's Jorg? He's over there somewhere, not in an official capacity though, right? I do like this. This is awesome. And this is what I like more about iniBuilds, because with their scenery, right? With this one, because I mean, it has this in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you ever want to, like, well, I don't know, but like, it's something to kind of remember the event by. And the fact that they have the interior, like, wouldn't it have been brilliant if they had Vegas and maybe Houston, right? Would have been brilliant. But yeah, very interesting stuff. Moby Flight. Yeah, must get in front of them lads as well. Simionic. Moby Flight, I am forever breaking your stuff. Wait now, so is it that all the announcements and the hall is in the one area? That's going to be interesting, isn't it? They're going to need more chairs. Or if they're doing the seminars. What are your thoughts on Rhode Island, lad? Well, we'll have to... Like, I'm looking forward... I can't wait. I thought Vegas was brilliant. Oh, look at the... sure, look at delicious food. I thought Vegas was brilliant. And Houston, as a venue, was great because you were surrounded by, you know, real airplanes. But Vegas, to me, was awesome because it's so nice being at the event. You don't need to travel. You just literally ramble down and there you are, right? But this is very, very good. Is there more stuff up here? Probably not. No. Okay. So this is iniBuilds Providence, Rhode Island. Haven't they done a great job? Haven't they done a great job, lads? So this scenery is now available. Sent me a DM with a screenshot. Thank you, Jefferson. Hang on, we take a look at the screenshot here now. What's it like at night time? Ah, yeah, look at that, look. Ah, that's very well done, isn't it? That's very well done, lads, isn't it? Look at the lighting. That's incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. Right, okay, I'm going to press a button. Hopefully my plane isn't upside down because the sim can do that. Right, we seem to be live. Jefferson said he sent me a DM. Let's go have a quick look. And... oh, look at that, look. Where is this now? Let me see. Save that. And open that. So that's how... look at that. That's class, look. So that's in the updated scenery. To have their Patriot there. Yeah, that's going to be so cool to check out, isn't it? I'm liking that. Really, really looking forward to FlightSim Expo, lads. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Where is this now? Oh, Cheney Mac. So Adam controls. Adam, are you in the chat? Can I tell people about this? I don't want to say it without Adam saying, yeah, go on, but that's pretty cool news from Adam Controls. Right, let's brighten up the stuff here a little bit. And what we're going to do now, we're going to ramble over, and hopefully Nick is there. Press one, Murph. Press another button, Murph. So I think my microphone is working. I'm going to press some buttons. This is all science now. I'll give it a few moments, and hopefully it works.
Hello.
Good evening, Nick. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
This is fantastic. Technology has not escaped me this evening.
Thank you for pushing a button.
Right, many buttons. Nick, you are most very welcome aboard. And I've been watching the videos that Just Flight have put out all about this aircraft, the Starship. And, you know, looking at the depth of systems, right, you kind of come away with a sore head saying there's literally so much going on with this aircraft. Where did everything start for you to get involved into this aircraft? Because it is one of the most unusual looking aircraft I've ever seen.
Well, it's just always been my favorite aircraft as long as I can remember. And believe it or not, this started right after my Velocity XL, which was my first aircraft for Flight Simulator. And, you know, obviously kind of a similar airplane. The Velocity is often called a mini Starship. Mm-hmm. And I kind of said to Just Flight right after that, you know, I'd kind of like to do the Starship. And it's been a 3-year passion project with me slowly plugging away in the background. And I'm just so delighted to share it with you guys because it's been such a passion project. And I've been honored to become somewhat of a steward of Starship history in the process. It's
really, really incredible because, like, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, it looks very similar to that Hangar design. I mean, we've seen that, and as you mentioned, the Velocity, and even the flying characteristics of that airplane was so different. What's staggering about this is the level of detail. As you said, I mean, it's a passion project, right? But the level of detail you've managed to get into this, it is quite staggering, and I don't think any video can really do justice to show the depth. I mean, you've mentioned something like 30,000 lines of code gone into this.
That's for just the avionics suite.
Right? It's absolutely staggering. And, you know, of all your aircraft I fly, I mean, the Dukes are absolutely incredible. I love the steam gauge overhauls. I think the TBM is probably just my favorite. I like just jumping into that. And what I like about the aircraft is, yes, they have the depth. Yes, they have, you know, system simulation and failures and all that's there. But they also don't mind a little bit of kind of, you know, you can be rough and ready if you're not fully comfortable with the aircraft. How has that challenge been for you? I mean, you know, you've been developing aircraft on 2020. We've Flight Sim 2024 here, and this aircraft is loaded into Flight Sim 24. Has that kind of altered how you create add-ons, or what's that journey been like?
It hasn't changed the process entirely. It's just added more onto it, for better or worse. And, you know, I did a little of this yesterday talking about how 2024 has been a challenge for developers. And I usually try to be very gentle about how I put that, but it has been quite the struggle. And that's why, you know, you haven't seen official updates for my aircraft for 2024 yet, even though most of them are generally working. Mm-hmm. And, you know, part of that is at the fault of how much the simulator has still been changing with all these sim updates and how much work is required to get it 2024 native. You know, what you're seeing if you put one of my airplanes in 2024 is it's running in like a legacy reverse compatibility mode. Mm-hmm. To get it into 2024 to use all the new features, that's where the real work comes in. And, you know, it's, you know, I'll just use one example. You know, I'm sure you've heard about the LOD system. I know you were talking about that with Hadrian's Wall. Mm-hmm. That for my fleet of aircraft, that necessitates creating and exporting 200 models for all the aircraft.
Wow.
So that's just an idea of the scale of the work. Mm-hmm. And as for the current state of 2024, the biggest thing you'll notice right now is that the tail number is missing. I had to disable that for the previews because my ultra dynamic tail number system that I use for all the liveries, so you can get the right paint and materials to match and everything and the fonts, is just broken in 2024. And Sobo has told me that they're going to look into it and fix it. Hopefully that'll be Sim Update 3. But beyond that, I mean, the aircraft is incredibly enjoyable, and everything else is really working pretty well. There's a few like LOD things here and there that are out of my control, but beyond that, it's been great to fly.
It really is, and like I'm trying to kind of figure out, folks looking at this airplane, it's not your most conventional general aviation aircraft. I mean, this was originally built as a business jet or business plane, right? And some of the systems and avionics, they were so, I don't even want to say they were so out there. They were so far-fetched. I mean, there was even technology at play on this aircraft, and I didn't know about it until I looked at one of your videos. It was in relation to the a nav system that was, used by the Coast Guard in the late 80s. I mean, you've managed to even bring that simulation into the sim. That was the goal. I mean, what I did with this airplane, I wanted to I got all the manuals from the owners, and I know you were saying earlier too, it's great when you get to work with the real aircraft. So all the sounds in this airplane are recorded from the real thing. I had the pleasure of spending a couple days with one of the owners. I've been on the phone with the other ones. They've told me their little secrets and tips on flying it and the things they wanted to see. It's been a great experience. But I got all the manuals and I went through it and I kind of looked at all the avionics that you're talking about. Like, that's called the Omega navigation system. Yeah. And at first I kind of went through it and went, nah, too hard. Nah, nobody cares. Nah, not going to do it. And over the course of 3 years, I did every single one of them because I had to. There was no, I couldn't not. It's absolutely incredible. So I suppose looking at this aircraft and its shape, and again in the videos, you've explained to us this canard design. You drew the comparison, like, the Wright Flyer was a similar spec, right? We don't see much of these aircraft around, but from an aerodynamics perspective, and we know that in particular with flights in 2020, but also in 24, they've enhanced kind of the sensors that are on the wings in terms of depicting a flight model, or at least how the airflow will go, under and over a wing. Can you expand a little bit more on how this flies? Because for the brief moments I've flown it, I can say it flies like nothing else I've flown. It's quite unique how you've managed to do that.
It is unique, and it's almost hard to describe. It's not that far off from a conventional airplane. You pull back and the houses get smaller. You push down, the houses get bigger. And it's very comfortable. I hope you've enjoyed flying it. It just It feels so stable. But it is a little different. And I think mostly you'll find that it's different. There's obviously the stall characteristics because it basically can't spin. But on landing, you'll find that it lands, it likes to float. And it lands without as much of a flare as a conventional airplane. But once you get used to that, you can just grease every single landing. As for the technology behind it, I think there's only one other developer I'm aware of that has even attempted a true canard aerodynamics in either flight sim.
Okay.
And that was something I developed for the Velocity. And once I saw that it was barely possible, I made myself some spreadsheets and math so that I could expand it to the Starship.
Wow.
And that, I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it, because when I started expanding it, I went, oh no, this is not working out. This is not scalable. And I was starting to pull my hair out until I finally said, okay, that's it. We got to make more math. We need more graphs, more spreadsheets. And I was able to really dial it into something I'm quite happy with.
It really is incredible. So, like, just moving around, I mean, from the exterior shot, I mean, did you have access to is this laser scanned, or is this from reference photographs?
Like no, this is, I did all the modeling long before I saw an active aircraft. I had been to museums to see ones that, have been put on layaway. But no, this is just, I've always, I do absolutely everything for my aircraft: the modeling, the materials, the coding, the marketing, everything. And this is just one of those talents I've developed over life is digitizing things that I see.
And in your journey, Nick, 'cause I am fascinated. I mean, the earlier work that you did, I mean, I've seen the taxiway add-ons that you did, the real world taxiways, and then of course you had the analog stuff. I mean, where did you get involved with flight simming?
Well, my first flight sim was Flight Unlimited, which came out in like 1995. And I had it a few years after that, back when this was like Windows 95 era.
Yeah.
And, so I've gone through all the flight sims, since then. And this actually was kind of a COVID baby for me. I said, okay, everybody's locked up at home now, and there's a new flight sim. I've always kind of wanted to try my hand at development. I said, now it's probably the best time ever to try it. And it's gone pretty well. I mean, I think I'm really proud of what I create. Absolutely.
As I said, like they're some of the finest aircraft, not just general aviation. They're some of the finest aircraft you can fly because they're so well put together. And you've picked really interesting aircraft, which is great. I mean, the Dukes were just top notch. The TBM 850, particularly the 850, because it has its own advanced 850 mode, which the newer TBMs kind of dropped. And of course, the Starship, this one. And I know that there's huge excitement for this. So what we might do, it's fascinating to know that you've done the work yourself. I did have a question from Cyrus, one of our members. He was just asking, on release, do you plan on releasing a paint kit with this? Can folks create their own liveries, or is that something maybe for further on down the line?
Yeah, I saw that question. So I haven't released a paint kit for any of my aircraft yet, and there's several reasons I've decided not to do that. Probably number one being that people seem to always want the Photoshop files, but I don't use Photoshop.
Okay.
So I don't want people to be put off by me, using a different software. I use GIMP to do all my texture work.
Wow.
So I've had my reasons, but I'll consider it. I thought about doing a really radical, modern paint schemes for this instead of just the ones that came from the factory. But I like the historical accuracy of those, but I'm also not averse to seeing somebody do something really cool with it. It's such a unique airplane.
Absolutely.
And
now I'm really...
If you don't...
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, if you don't mind me interrupting, just because I see it on your stream there, somebody in the chat also mentioned Burt Rutan.
Yeah.
And that's, I thought it was befitting. He is an idol of mine. And so I put the little dedication plate in there for him, and you can see some of the airplanes that he's designed and the records that he's broken. For instance, the Rutan Voyager was the first nonstop flight around the world without refueling, and that was built by him and flown by his brother. And Global Flyer, first solo nonstop flight around the world, and Global Flyer's chase plane was Starship NC-51.
Wow.
So there's pictures of Global Flyer out over the ocean flying around the world nonstop, taken from the cockpit of Starship.
That's incredible.
And it was the chase plane for Spaceship One and White Knight as well. The history of Burt Rutan and Starship just, dovetail, and I thought it was important to honor that.
That's awesome. And because I was looking at that earlier on, I started reading up on Burt, and I was like, he did so much, and like the designs are just so out there as well. And it's a beautiful plaque. I mean, you have it in here as well. In our age of convenience and comfort, there are few opportunities to experience the harrowing stories of exploration and survival once common among sailors, pilots, and astronauts. For those of us who wish to push the envelope of what's possible and shed a tear of respect upon the shoulders of the giants who inspire us, many legacies of Burt Rutan surely stand out among the greatest adventurers of man and machine. It's a lovely, lovely plaque, and yeah, very, very fitting to this aircraft for sure, because I like this era of aircraft development in the 80s. I mean, as you said, the Wright Flyer, this sort of design concept of the Canard, like it wasn't really seen since then, and all of a sudden here we go in the 1980s. Yeah, we're going to do one of these, which I thought was awesome. So moving into the interior, I mean, as good as outside looks, I mean, you have the interior looking top notch here as well, and it's so familiar to today's kind of business jets in terms of, the overall shape. There was plenty of room in this, the seating configuration, where everything is. But what I like here is, Nick, there's more than just visuals at play. I mean, there's actual functionality, and you've included important little details. Anything from kind of, the vents for the cooling systems, and even where you would put down some of the external gear like the chocks and everything else. I mean, there's functionality everywhere in this aircraft.
Yeah, that's, you mentioned the louvers there. That's kind of how I go about designing these aircraft, is that I look at what is a system that matters, and if that system matters to the operator, then I think it should be modeled. It should be something you can look at. You should understand, when you're learning an aircraft, if you say, oh, the fan is here, where does the fan pull air from? Oh, from that vent there. And it gives you an idea of how the whole thing works. And that is kind of my goal with this. I like them to be sort of learning tools when you look at the tablet and everything. And I'm very passionate about that as a real world pilot, that you should be able to understand an aircraft beyond what buttons to push.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you, this is definitely one that invites you to do that, because what's so intimidating to start off with, right? When you jump into the I'll use a different camera for the internals. When you jump into the flight deck or into the cockpit of this aircraft, it is at first sight very intimidating, because what have we got, like 14 or 15 screens here? Like
14
screens, right? It's like, right, that's a lot of screens. And again, you're thinking the timeline of this airplane, the name Starship really works, because gone are the steam gauges, right? I mean, this would have been new, especially in an aircraft of this size, to have screens like that.
Well, even the model number they put on it, the 2000, this was the new millennium of aviation.
It's incredible to think. And like, when we look at this, there is so much functionality and logic that you've said it in one of your videos. I think the best way to experience it is for folks just to fly it, because there's only so much you can actually talk about. I was intrigued before they even put power into it. I was just going around looking at the airplane, early this morning, and I was like, why is there, a 3.5-inch floppy disk here and a disk drive? I was like, what's, and then you start looking at it, crew notes and nav data. I was like, is that how the nav data was put onto these aircraft? And yes, it was.
It still is.
It still is.
I handled it myself, and I've seen some people say, oh, that's so outdated. It's like, all the Starship owners right now are writing nav data to a floppy disk and putting it in their airplane.
That just incredible.
2025.
That is absolutely incredible.
I'll say, before we get started, in terms of the complexity, I liked something you said about Starship earlier, and my aircraft in general, and it's kind of the only message that I want to get out in doing these streams, which is, I know that when you look at my aircraft and you see the fact that so much is being simulated, it's almost incomprehensible, but that doesn't mean you can't have a lot of fun. You turn off the failures. Without the failures, everything kind of runs itself, and you can have a lot of fun just flying around a canard airplane. And the phrase I heard the other day I really like was, it's easy to easy to enjoy, hard to master, if you will.
Yes. And yeah, 100%, because intimidating is when you look at it, but by having the consequence turned off, it allows folks to kind of learn this at their own pace. I think that's kind of needed, Nick, because there's so much depth to this. I mean, you can get lost in not just the avionics, not just the navigation options, not just how the engines, and those incredibly powerful, they're PT6s, but not what we've seen before. In comparison, the engines on this versus, the Duke, these are huge in comparison with the output.
And the performance is unbelievable. Starship, one of the reasons it wasn't massively successful was because it missed its performance expectations by a lot. It came in a lot heavier than it was supposed to be. The airfoils were not as clean as they were supposed to be, much to the chagrin of Burt Rutan. But even then, as long as the thing is not fully loaded to max gross weight, you'll be climbing at over 4,000 feet per minute.
Wow.
You are just up, and it cruises at the maximum altitude is 41,000 feet. It's a rocket ship. It is a spaceship.
41,000. Yeah, no, it's it's unbelievable. What I might do, I'm going to start off just with the very first thing you do with an aircraft, a walk around, and you've implemented the walk around system of FlightSim 2024 that we can actually interact with some of the main points of the aircraft using the default walk around. So things like, you know, the chocks and also the remove before flight, the gear locking pins, which I believe are an absolute screamer for this airplane, most important. Because I think, I don't know, was it a feature or was it an overlook by Beach? But if those pins weren't in there and you lost hydraulic pressure, could they collapse, or they would only collapse under the switch engaging?
Yeah, that's not atypical for retractable gear aircraft. You know, it just depends on the mechanics behind it. Usually you'll see that on hydraulically actuated gear. You know, like you don't see that really on like a Bonanza, you know, that has a worm gear behind it.
Sure.
But yeah, you know, if you don't pull those out, you'll find out when you put up that gear handle, because the gear is not going to come up, and you'll see those streamers going 200 knots behind you.
Brilliant. And the same goes for, you know, pitot covers and that. I mean, you're not going to get the right readings if you leave the pitot covers on.
Mm-hmm. And especially the engine covers is the one you really need to check, because if you don't pull those out, you can destroy that engine in seconds.
Oh, really?
And I'll tell you how to look for that when we get in the cockpit.
Sweet. Oh, yeah, sure, of course. You'd have no airflow. I mean, the whole point of this is the props are cooled and heated, I think. There's no anti-ice in this, but it didn't need it, right?
Correct. Yeah. The exhaust heats the metal propellers.
That's nuts. Yeah, I do like that. The design, it's so strange from the back. It's like, it's upside down plane.
I know. And as for the walk around, I'll say that, you know, you notice that it doesn't have like the little pins that some of the default airplanes do.
Yeah.
And that's because I implemented my own walk around system, because I saw the way that Asobo did it, and it was, in my opinion, too abstract and difficult to implement. And I said, I already have all the underlying systems to do this anyway, so I'm just going to make my own walk around system, and I'm going to be able to do a lot more with it than I could with the default system.
I love that, because there are three things in particular about this system that I've seen with your airplane. You can do, you have the option of using, you know, get out the airplane. You can remove the before flight items, but you can also put them back. That's the first thing I like. The second thing is, when you open the main cabin door, you don't automatically transport out of the cockpit by, you know, Star Trek, strange, right? And then the third thing is, you've given us an override. If we don't want to do any of that, we can select all of the pre-flight, remove before flight, directly from the tablet. We can do all of those. We've three options basically for your pre-flight stuff. Genius.
I'm glad you think so. That was the, you know, you asked about designing the aircraft for you know, people that don't necessarily want to know every single ridiculous thing I've simulated. And that's part of it. You know, I do put a lot of work into that, especially in how the avionics work as well, just to make sure that there's very subtle things to help guide the simulator pilot to an enjoyable experience. And that doesn't mean sacrificing any realism. It just means implementing things in a way where they are as intuitive as you would expect, if you will. And that goes for the walk around as well.
No, it's awesome. Now, one point of familiarity, and this is probably the only bit of familiarity, is the use of the EFB. And we have a lot of familiar sites in here when it comes to the options that we can have. You know, you're able to help out folks who mightn't have a D-dent in their throttles for beta range and, you know, insta beta on touchdown effects. Handy for those. Also the VR static position. I booted this up earlier on in VR. It's just the view out of this, bar that pillar, it's on par with like a Vision Jet. The view out of this is actually phenomenal.
And I see that you have the unrestricted beta on there, and I know you also like to break things. So that's a little bit of a dangerous one.
So the unrestricted means you can give it full blast, basically, isn't it?
That means that you can go into beta and reverse while in flight, which can be, I'll be honest, the manuals for these aircraft often have an extremely ominous statement in them that says, you know, activating beta in flight is unlikely to be survivable.
Right.
So I don't recommend that one unless you really know what you're doing.
Yeah, I will leave it on for the crack. We'll see what happens. And then we have options here for VATSIM as well. I like this touch because you can be monitoring everything, so you know who's talking to you. The payload page, so there's something quite interesting here, and it's the fuel tanks. We got 4 fuel tanks. And the locations of these are interesting. And what's different about these is how these tanks actually work. Because, again, looking at your video and then looking down here at some of these systems, I'm saying, well, we have standby pumps. Why would you need a standby pump as opposed to like your standard mechanical fuel pump? It's because how these fuel auxiliary tanks kind of pump into the main tank, right?
And it's also, you know, just as if you go to one of the engine pages, actually, you can almost see more of the fuel system there, and you'll see that there's a jet pump, and it's the standby electrical pump, and then there's the mechanical engine pump, and each and every one of those can fail in my aircraft. So what you might see is if you're flying along and the engine just dies, you go, oh my God, what happened? And you look at this tablet and you see that, you know, the engine-driven pump is red. And you go, okay, we've had a failure of the mechanical pump. So how can I troubleshoot that? To get pressure back, I can turn on the electric standby pump and continue the flight.
And that sentence, how to continue the flight, I think that's a real option now with this airplane. And why I'm saying that, the Starship kind of, because it was so futuristic and out there, it had to kind of, you know, reinforce safety with potential operators or pilots. There was redundancy almost everywhere. Every system had some sort of a redundancy measure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the avionics is where you see that the most. I mean, kind of behind that tablet, you see that big reversionary panel. You can fly the airplane from the other side of the cockpit. You can fly the airplane with the screens on the bottom, with the screens on the top. You know, there's a way to get around almost any kind of failure you might encounter, at least, you know, to one degree.
It's absolutely fantastic. And again, you know, I was saying, this is, you know, first look, this is a wonderful airplane. Sure, there's only a handful of what I thought down here. I was like, yeah, sure, the circuit breakers, there's very little on this plane. And then I realized, no, hang on, look, there's the first set of them, right? And there was more over here. And these are all alive. They all tell a story, right?
They do. And you know, the way that I design my airplanes, that they're not just alive. You know, when you fly, like I said something to another real world pilot the other day. I said, you know, do you ever have an existential crisis sometimes? It can sneak in because you're running your procedures, you're flipping all the switches, and then you'll flip like the auto feather switch and you'll go, oh God, this is a small circuit board 30 feet behind me with a little bit of corrosion on it that's heating up right now. And that's how I design these to feel. Those circuit breakers, you know, you don't just click them. They don't just pop with the failure system. They have to heat up when they're in use in order for them to trip. And then you can push them back in and they'll work for a little bit until they heat up again. And I know that's just a circuit breaker. It's not, you know, it's kind of become a bit of a meme, like the airplane has circuit breakers, then it's study level. But that's everything. I mean, the screens have to warm up. If it's cold, they take longer to warm up. You know, the temperature of the screens depends on the chimney effect of the rising heat behind the instrument panel. And that's happening all the time when you fly the airplane. You know, you're looking at the beautiful sunset, but to me, it makes it so much more impactful to know while you're looking at that sunset, you know, the airplane is alive, you know, around you.
And to go further, right, with the engine visualizers that I'm always blown away by. And you know, I first seen this. It was A2A who brought out this sort of viewpoint, and I've seen it. I've seen it in X-Plane, Airfoil Labs. They like giving us a way to look at what's actually happening. I think it's so cool, right? But you've delved into not just the electrical system, which is very much, you know, on off. Is there current going to that area? And we'll have a look at this interesting triple feed bus in a moment. But the cabin, the cooling of this aircraft, and it's not just to do with, you know, are the passengers, are they roasting or are they freezing? It's far beyond that, because you have avionics at play, and the avionics are warming up, but you've simulated the temperature behind the avionics, right? Behind the panel, because they get warm. And then you've simulated the area behind those with the units that actually power the avionics. So as a chimney effect, everything that is running on the aircraft is generating heat, therefore it must be cooled. And you'd be thinking, well, sure, the air intakes in the front must be doing all the heavy lifting here. But in actual fact, the vast majority of the cooling actually comes in towards the rear of the aircraft, and then your air conditioning units, or blowers, if you like, they kind of take over. Modeling all of this, I mean, it's on a scale of, especially with this aircraft, because there's so much consequence now because of all these screens, whereby it's now so important making sure that the avionics are actually kept cooler, because, well, if you run them hot and very hot, they're now liable to fail, and they will fail.
And that was one of the things that one of the owners told me was just quintessential part of flying Starship. But I also want to back that up again and say, if you turn on the right switches, it's going to take care of itself. You know, that's there as something for the advanced user who is flying in the desert and thinking, you know, I really want to run this like the real world and make sure that they, you know, are taken well care of, because there aren't an infinite number of replacements for those parts, you know. That's what the owners face. And I'll jump in one more thing too, and unfortunately it's not showing anymore, but on the tablet screen it said 59, 60, 61 as we went forward, and that was the perfect example of on the cabin screen, the temperatures, and that was, you know, shows that the thermal mass of each area, right? The cabin's really big, so even though the sun is hitting it from the outside and warming it up, it stays cool. And then up front in the nose, that's got, you know, less insulation, and it's a smaller thermal mass, so it heats up faster.
Wow. That's absolutely nuts. There is something here, and I haven't dove into it yet, but it has ear discomfort. I mean, that's your cabin altitude, right?
Yeah, the rate of change of the cabin.
Right.
And that's just, well, you can see that on the gauge. You know, you can see whether you're climbing at 1,500 feet per minute or 500 feet per minute.
Yeah.
But I figured that a lot of people that haven't spent time flying, you know, with their hands on the controls in an airplane don't necessarily have a concept of what 1,500 feet feels like versus what 500 feet feels like.
Yeah. No, I love it. I absolutely love it. And then we get into the failure system, for which this is probably the most amount of failures I think you've put into any of your aircraft. Would that be right?
Absolutely. Yep.
There's hundreds.
230 something.
And it's the something that'll always catch you out. I mean, the stuff that can fail here, you mightn't even notice it failed during a flight. It's so quiet, and but over time, then, well, it could fail additional systems to that.
Mm-hmm. And you know, that's like, it has cascading effects too. You know, think about if you have one of those avionics blower fans fail, you don't notice that. So now they heat up more. Once they get hot enough, a screen fails. You know, so it can cascade, and, you know, just like a real, you know, incident might. And you know, I'll just share one thing from my flying, you know, testing this out the other night. Even if you have the global failure rate at the top set to 1x, I mean, aviation is, especially at this, you know, business aircraft level, is pretty safe. You know, so 1x is like, you're gonna not encounter a lot of failures, and if you do, it's not going to be something really big. It's going to be something small. And if you want to have more fun, I find like 25x is a good place where it'll be kind of exciting, if you get my drift.
Sure.
But you know, the other night I'm flying at 1x, and I'm on short final, just broke out at minimums, and the master caution comes on. Why? A flaky sensor on the door latching mechanism.
No.
That's, you know, it can be that subtle, but it can really trip you up. If you're on short final, you just broke out, and the red light comes on, you know, you might freak out for a minute and go, "Oh my God, is my door flying open?" No, it's a flaky sensor.
I love that. And again, we have the options, the mean time between failures or schedule mode. We can select what we want to happen, and even the timings of these. You know, engine hours or airframe hours, whatever. I mean, there's nothing random about this. These are legit numbers that you've gone off and researched.
Yeah, it's the word I use is pseudo random, which is, you know, there's nothing, you know, and this is actually why I chose to do this as opposed to some other developers that have like this continuous wear and tear system. that's actually not the best way to model failures. When you look at the way we do it when we're building like a spacecraft or the International Space Station, they recognize that manufacturing defects make things pseudo-random. Newly installed systems have what's called infant mortality. They're actually more likely to fail when they're brand new than when they're like 5,000 hours old. And then there's a peak, which is that mean time between failure when things are really likely to fail. But it also doesn't mean that they might live twice as long. Yeah. You just never know. And when you look at the wear and tear based systems, it's like, well, does a hard landing really make it more likely for your, like some annunciator light to fail? Not really. It's actually much more realistic to model it with mean time between failure, a pseudo random process.
It's unbelievable. And again, you can turn this off if you don't want it. I mean, your option is I don't want failure. So that eliminates any consequence to the mishandling or just jumping in and not worrying about following kind of procedures and that, which I love. I think what we might do, we might put some power into this machine, right? But to kind of help us along here, I'm going to make sure that my park and brake is on, which it is, and I'm going to connect the external power unit.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the little bit of a lag on your stream over here, but you can do that, outside, by going over to the external power connector and clicking on that with the walk around. What? And I really want to show off the sounds of that GPU as well. I take delight in such things. It's right outboard of the left landing gear. You can crawl under the wing there.
Oh, there we go. Got it? Hang on. It goes under the wing, yeah.
It's right outboard of the main landing gear door. It's a little hatch in the wing, right behind the boot.
Got it there. External power. Look at that. We can put that in there. All right, hang on. We'll do it with sound this time.
We definitely got to get the sound in there. I mean, everything's recorded from the real aircraft, and especially in the cockpit, it's just delightful. And
you even have the exhaust tapping.
Yes. And when we apply power to the aircraft, you'll see that the generator has to increase RPM on the diesel engine to supply the load, and the exhaust stream actually becomes more constant, and that flapper will lift up with the increased exhaust flow.
On a GPU. That's brilliant. I love that. All right, so let's jump back in. And it goes without saying, but also the pitot flags, they'll move in the direction of the wind as well on the ground. If they were attached. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little funky in 2024 because, believe it or not, they implemented that apparent wind to be relative to your character. Yeah. So as you walk around, the wind that you feel on your face is the wind that it uses for the flags, but maybe they'll fix that. It's a little silly.
Okay.
It's also something that only I might notice, so.
Okay, sure. What we'll do, quick check, without going through checklists, for which there are many checklists. I'm just going to go with battery. So the gear is in the down position, flaps haven't touched those, and I'm just going to go from the battery switch itself. Now, I know, according to the manual, we would test the standby gyro, making sure that's working. Again, it's just to give you an idea of the sound. So these backup instruments, I think they work off their own power supply in outside of the master battery switch, and that goes into that kind of triple fed bus system we mentioned a bit earlier. But a quick test on that is looking good. I'm now going to hit the battery master switch, and I'll just turn up the sound so folks can hear it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, what we need to make sure before we turn on that external power unit, we need to make sure that we have exactly 28.1 volts and it's steady.
You've been watching my videos.
You have to learn the stuff, Nick. I'm the guy who once crashed on takeoff. So by looking at now, if you did start that, if you did activate your external power and that volt meter was fluctuating, well, then you could actually cause damage.
Yeah, the biggest concern is to over voltage, the airplane, because that could actually fry very expensive things in the airplane. And I'll go back to the gyroscope for a second, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely.
When you saw it spin up, that's something that I've pulled over from all my other aircraft. That gyroscope is a physics simulation. It's not It's not just an animation that plays of it wobbling around. If you flip that switch on and flip it off quickly, it'll never stabilize. It'll just sit there warbling forever because it doesn't have enough, gyroscopic force. Wow. And when you turn it off, it's going to take like 20 minutes to slow down.
Now, speaking of which, I do have to showcase this, right? Because I was blown away when I saw this in the Piston Duke. But if an instrument is doing something and you're not quite sure, you can still do this. You can tap, and you can hear that tap on the glass, and it reacts to you tapping. So if you are getting what you might think a faulty read, you can actually tap the glass and the thing reacts to it.
And that, that's not just for show as well. That's the stiction and friction simulation. So that's, particularly in like an older, like the Piston Duke, if you're flying in Alaska, the needle can get stuck. It's cold. It has little gears in it. Mm-hmm. So if it gets stuck, that's kind of you're not really supposed to tap on the glass, but it's like, well, it's either that or get the reading that you want,
It's incredible stuff. Right, so what we might do, a bit of sound now as we go ahead. I'm going to go with the external power, and we'll get some of our integrated avionics units. So we have our ICAS pilot and co-pilot systems, and it's the sound of these spinning up. So we'll turn up the sound here so you guys can hear. And I want you to listen to that generator outside running as we turn on systems. And depending on the systems that I go messing with, as in, these are going to be, what's going to be heavy on a plane, like the likes of, say, some of the lights or even the starter valves or pumps, you'll hear the noise, the RPM of your GPU change. And you're sitting here wondering, why is that running so loud? And then you suddenly realize it's from the draw coming off the aircraft. It's nuts.
And, you were saying that if you pull up the electrical page, you can look at how all this is propagating through the aircraft and through the diodes into the triple fed bus. When you activate the ground power unit, it closes the bus ties between the left and right, and you can hear that from the cockpit. I recorded it from the real airplane. Mm-hmm. But it's also more than just is there voltage, is there not? Because I'm also simulating the voltage drop that comes from pulling a large current. So with the GPU connected, it can supply basically all the current you ever want. So you're not seeing that voltage drop. But if you disconnected the GPU, you would see all the lights in the airplane dim because now the battery voltage is being pulled down.
And I love that because you've modeled or built a system into the drop of current going through diodes. If you're on like 28 flat, but you might get 27 by the time it gets through or 0.7 or 0.8 or whatever through a diode, right? It's quite staggering. And yes, like, I mean, if I were to hit those the gen ties, that GPU unit will actually calm down a bit. Let's try it. You hear that GPU just calm down all of a sudden? And then it revs back up. Like it's it's quite amazing, right? Quite amazing. So looking at our electrical stuff and the options that we have, and even with the avionics that are at play, before we even get into them, bit of familiarization here for folks. Beechcraft, there are some similarities kind of straight away. But then everything else is like, no, forget about it. You've never seen systems like this at all. I mean, I was looking at this and said, yeah, it's like a HSI, but that's not like it's so different. And like, was it the altimeter as well? It's an altimeter built with vertical speed and your baro all on one screen.
And I this is not just me. I'll say some other real world pilots I've been working with too. This has become my favorite flying experience ever. I mean, it might look kind of quirky, but to be honest, the way that this is laid out, because you have to remember that when they designed these systems, this had never been done before. There was select stuff for like the military here and there, but this was the first all glass panel cockpit in any kind of GA business aircraft. And So they really had to think about this stuff, and it set the trend that we've been following for years. But in a lot of cases, I think that it was actually laid out better. It was clearer. You had more screen real estate. I hate to pick on any airplane, but consider the amount of screen real estate that's given to the engine instruments on like a 737 Max, and then look at Starship. And sitting in the real thing, I mean, what you get out of those CRTs, there's no backlighting. It's just each individual symbol being drawn on the blank screen. So the contrast is basically infinite. The lines are incredibly sharp and bright and clear during bright daylight hours. You dim it all the way down at night. I've just never seen something in the real world in terms of a glass panel cockpit that made me this happy. No, as a pilot,
it provides such and it's a very immersive atmosphere with the lighting, and it's all dimmable as well. Like I don't even know if you have a number on what the potential combinations are, because each screen has its own list of rules.
It would be in the millions and millions and millions. Well, seriously, because I mean, each one has they have a brightness balance, a contrast balance, and the overhead dimmers. I mean, it's too many to count.
What I love about this unit, right? And again, this is kind of leaning into the logic. If you were moving this dial here that I'm moving, this is basically your vertical speed dial, right? So if I want to set this to say 500 feet a minute, but I love the logic, because if I want to go much higher, well, it shows me the rest of the different options. If I want to climb at 2,000 feet a minute, for example. But if I don't need to use that, well, the system deactivates it. It tidies up the screen for you, which just makes it easier to see what's happening. I love that. Like there was logic involved here that was Starship.
And it's been lost. Some of this, in my opinion, has been lost with time. I think that, this is my bias for slightly older, technology. But when you compare this to a G3000, obviously the G3000 is much more capable and sophisticated, especially in the navigation sense. But there's been a certain design logic that's been lost a little bit over time. And, the owners say that Starship is really, a pilot's machine. And I get why they say that.
Yeah. I just see a question there in the chat just in relation to headphone simulation. It is modeled in two ways. We have it on our headphone jack underneath the main panel. I think it would be accessed through the sim, I think, or is it on the tablet?
No, that system is very limited. So we implemented our own. This is me and Boris AudioWorks.
And the sounds, of course, you've worked with Boris on these, and it's quite mad.
Look at the avionics heating up there.
Right? Not a good state to be in. So when we're looking at that, you can see it. Look. Now, not only that, but you'll notice when this temperature wasn't an issue, these fans up the front weren't running. They're now running. So they're like, it's an automatic feature, as in the fans now need to just try and push that air in there, and it's using ambient air from outside, which may not be a great thing, but these fans can fail, which is it's just incredible. And even with that, like, I mean, do I have cooling on? I do have AC on, and we're seeing the fans come in here. Like, we're keeping the instrument panel.
Yeah, no power on the right-hand engine, though, so no air conditioning. This is just ambient air. But the ambient air is cool. I mean, you shouldn't have a problem with this. I mean, this should be able to take care of itself. I would say, start being worried about how long you leave the avionics running with no air conditioning when it's over 85 degrees outside. And then after that, obviously, once you take off, you get that ram airflow, the air cools down up there, and then you're pretty much set, as long as nothing fails, when you're in cruise.
I love
it's just really how long you sit on the ground,
Yeah, 100%. Right, so what we might do, I might close the cabin door here, right? Because I'm very interested in putting a bit of power. I do need to show this thing off because my mind was blown. We're going to put in this disc. What's the logic behind this, Nick? So, yes, it has its nav data, and we can load it in, drop it in. It's locked in, and now we can go over here, and we can go to not avionics, but it'd be more to do with, is it the FMS and then data?
It's on the CDU. It's under the index page.
Yes.
And then read-write diskette.
But listen to the sounds, right? Hang on, we'll do it again. We're going to update the database. You've modeled the sound of like the read-write of a floppy disk, man. It's awesome.
And that little activity light blinking too. I went for maximum nostalgia.
I missed that sound. Yeah, right. 25 minutes to load one GIF. Brilliant. Now, is there consequence to that? I mean, what happens if we ignore it, or is that something that's going to come back and bite us if we just? Yeah, it's nice.
No, that one's not going to get you, because I know some people wouldn't want to be forced to do that like every 5 weeks. It's it does it on the database cycle. So if you leave the airplane for 5 weeks and come back, it'll say, "Oh, time to update." But this is using the internal flight sim database, so it is always up to date. It's there because I wanted that nostalgia. When I saw it in the real airplane, I just said, this is just too adorable to miss out on. And there are some other things, and I'll say, although this is kind of irrelevant to the end user, I also use the floppy disks for my debugging. So on that page, it says write to diskette.
Yeah.
And if I'm having an issue and I go like, oh, why is this flight plan like not working right? I write it to the developer console so that I can then look at exactly what it's thinking. And I'm anticipating that that's probably going to come in handy when Starship is out in the wild. If somebody finds some bug and I say, well, put in the floppy and send me a screenshot.
That's absolutely nuts. So is it a thing that I'd be capable of writing a debug list?
Yeah, absolutely.
What? That's unbelievable. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. That's just, that's out there. That's fantastic. So yeah, I have a problem with my airplane. Just what you got to do in real life, right? Download the avionics, pop it on the disk, and send it on. I love that. I love that. That's brilliant. Oh,
I'm really a sucker for that kind of realism.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Right, some of the other things, because I do want to get an engine started. And there's a lot of there's so much to this airplane, and as you say, it can be either as study level, to use that word, or it can be just purely I just want to jump in and fly it. So we'll try and appeal everyone. There's a couple of things over here I love. There is the stall warn, right? Because this airplane, I tried to stall it, and then I realized it doesn't want to stall. And I was like, where's the stall? There's nothing telling you it's going to stall. And then I did research, and no, though there is. So you have these angle of attack indicators, and I was thinking, why is that there? It's purely to feedback to the pilot to let them know, well, it could stall. So we got a tester switch down here, which is the stall warning. And how this works is it's awesome because it has stick shakers. And once it gets up to whatever 0.6 degrees, it'll shake. But if it gets to 10, that's your stall warn, and then, your yoke comes back. But the idea being is once it gets to, I think, 6.6 up, I think it'll automatically pull the nose back down for you. And within a certain time limit, if you stall it again, well, now it's really going to shout at you, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
It's crazy. And the other thing was the oxygen. I was like, the crew alert system is saying, how do you arm your oxygen? It's like, I found it on the tablet, right? Because I was like, I can't find a switch anywhere for oxygen. I was like, well, hang on, look, the cabin has oxygen, and hang on, it's near the hang on. And then I found it here. So we pull the oxygen, that arms the system, it says it's ready, and then we can actually go in and test it by testing on these on the masks. And it's not to just press a button. I mean, you have to depress it, it loads it, and then release it, and you hear the air escape, which is, I love that. Absolutely love that. Right, so what I want to do, I'm just going to start up even the rate engine. We'll get some air conditioning in there, because I'm anxious to let folks hear the sounds of this, because the sounds are beautiful. And as I said, like, there's just so much. There is so much of this airplane. Like, all the checks that you can do, the fire detection switches, the landing gear warning, overspeed, and the sounds are amazing. And you can really turn it into a Christmas tree. Like, the lighting here is superb. So, a Murphy special. Now, the engine auto ignition, that's not a requirement for startup. I mean, effectively, you're making sure that you're going to engage the starter, and We'll put our prop to full, engage the starter. We're going to aim for...
Don't hot start my PT6s.
I'm going to be gentle now, right?
Remember, maximum NG, not the minimum. You want to have it level out at the maximum.
Right, let's see what happens here.
I don't know if that's something you've done before, but it's something I see a lot. So I always try to, you drill that in for people.
I used to consistently hot start planes in flight simulators until one of the guys, ailerons into wind, educated me in the way of understanding it. So yeah, I mean, with the TBM, I don't say I have it down to a fine art, but it's down to a fine art, you know. But yeah, it's not a case of just waiting for like 12%. It's no, let it run. Let it run as fast as it can, and once it hits its top speed, then you're relatively okay. Come here. There's no or is there? There's no inertial separation with this, is there?
Oh, there is. Yes,
there is.
It's next to that oxygen valve that you pulled out. It's the two switches to the right of that. There's locking toggles and there's regular toggles. And the locking toggles are the inertial separator. They each have one motor, but they have two power supplies. So that's the standby. And then it's right to the right of the red. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you don't need those on when you're starting. You know, if you're on a good improved ramp. In fact, it provides a cooler start if you don't have them on.
And the advantage, of course, I mean, like the intakes have a lot of protection there. There's no fear of stuff getting sucked in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're there for a reason, so there is some fear, obviously, you know, and you want to use it when you're in, you know, rain, precipitation, icing conditions, dusty, you know, volcanic ash, all that. It does matter. But clearly, it is a lot better than a King Air where it's sitting, you know, only like, you know, 2.5 feet off the ground.
Yeah. And the main job of that, it's keeping debris out of the engine. I mean, it separates the whole debris. What do they call it? What was the name?
FOD, foreign object debris.
That's the one.
And you can look at that on the tablet, by the way, on the engine pages. You'll actually see the type of FOD and the particulate as it gets sucked up into the engine or thrown overboard using the inertial separators.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Right. Right. No panic now. In terms of fuel, the tanks, standby pumps. Should I go with
you
fuel
don't
pumps?
have to because the pumps will turn on when you activate the starter. You know, same thing for the ignition you asked about. When you turn on the starter, it automatically puts on the ignition and the pump.
Okay, right, we'll go for a start and see what happens. And listen, if I break the plane, Nick, there's no backsies. Right, let's see what happens. So ignition to the right. Let me see, power's okay. We're still on gens. Onto our overhead here. Let's just get some nav lights on and put on the seatbelts just so people know what we're doing. And we'll light it up in here and let's go for a start. And let's listen to these sounds.
And speaking of cool engine starts, the direction you face the aircraft into the wind can also be used to get, you know, more airflow through the engine and keep it cool.
Ah, yes. Never have it facing with the wind, point it in, put the props towards the wind, yes. Okay, what's our speed? Like, that's pretty fast. Right, let's go for... Okay, watching our ITT for a hot start, which is beautiful. And our... Would it be N1 for a hung start, I suppose?
Yes, and it's accelerating. And then at 50%.
Yeah, so similar to like a TBI. I think, well, it's the PT6. I think they like about 50%.
Yeah, same engines.
Yeah. So starter then off. And put it to run. Yeah, what's really interesting about the prop speed, it's a double dial. It goes around twice.
It's a little weird, but you know, it provides good resolution. I mean, it's actually quite clear.
I'm liking that. Okay, well, let's see if we can disconnect that GPU. We'll start up the second engine. Although, we probably don't need the GPU now if I go with the generator on the right side. Would that be right?
To be best, you want to do one or the other. So you want to disconnect the GPU before you activate the generators.
Yeah, so we'll go... We're going to turn off external power. No. Would it be generator on, then external power? It shouldn't really matter.
No, I mean, it did the right thing. That's what's expected, because it opened up the bus ties because now you're only on battery power.
Aha.
So then you close the generator and everything will come back up.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're up and running there. Generator is off. We can remove the GPU from outside. And now we're going to start up the left engine. Right, let's have a look at this one. So same crack again. Don't need to worry too much about pumps or otherwise. And we'll go for a start.
This is where, if you saw that gas generator RPM was particularly low, that might mean that you left your engine covers in because it's not getting enough airflow.
Right, that's the telltale. And because if that happens, don't go near your fuel, otherwise, bang.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, that's as fast as she's going to spin. Fuel in. Man, the sounds are good. And yet, this aircraft was so incredibly quiet on the inside. Looking at videos, like they were saying, like, well, even on your video, they could hear the hops meter tick in the cockpit, right?
Mm-hmm. And, some of the videos I was sent from one of the owners in the cockpit during flight, you could hear the conversation that his passengers were having in the back, just at a normal talking volume.
That's incredible.
Of course, that means that it's really loud on the ground for other people, but at least your cabin is quiet.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me see. Auto feather, we'll go ahead and test that. We have a governor overspeed on her as well. Gens are working. Center bus, this is all looking good. That's all looking good. We should now get air conditioning up and running, so we're going to double check that by cockpit temperature, leave it low, but the fans, turn them on. What else do you want to have a look at here? That's all good on the left side. We'll bring back up our tablet now and let's just have a look at what's happening with the engines. So we can see the fuel is coming in directly from the tank. The standby pump doesn't need to do anything unless, of course, I wanted to... Well, it doesn't directly feed it. It's not mechanically fed. Sure, it's not. Is it working off like suction, or is it just gravity fed, or...
Like right now when the engine's running, there's a jet pump that's moving the fuel from the tank up into the line to maintain pressure, and then there's a mechanical pump that's pulling it into the engine.
Okay, and what if we were to look at then the auxiliary tanks or the aft tanks?
So those, when the engines are running, there's another jet pump which is pulling the fuel from the aft into the forward tank. It normally, like without the pump running, it will gravity feed, but not completely.
Sure. And hence then we have the pumps here if we need to agitate it or...
Yes. Yep. And that's what, those push buttons are there for, is to see how much fuel there is in the aft tank versus the whole system. So when it's not pressed, you're looking at the total fuel, and when it's pressed, you're looking at just the aft tanks.
Okay. So
that's why you can see the bar graph gets like truncated. That's only showing the capacity of the aft tank.
Okay. And again, this is something that can fail, and you can be stuck with fuel back there, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I've all this fuel and I can't use it. And you might just say, sure, it's okay, I have enough fuel to land, but it'll have a huge impact on your center of gravity.
Yeah, it shouldn't get too dangerous, but it's something to keep in mind.
There was something else here as well, Nick, and I don't think I noticed it on your other aircraft. Now, forgive me if it's there, right? But when you load this aircraft, it'll give you a visualization. That's a very long way of saying the word visualization. It'll give you a visualization of kind of like a traffic light system when it relates to the weight you have loaded on the aircraft. So white is fine. Then it goes to this kind of yellow color to let you know that, okay, you're carrying weight. And I think you were saying yellow means you're too heavy to land, so you need to be careful there.
Exactly.
And then red, you've overloaded it, and you ain't going to take off. Is that only present on this airplane, or have you put it on the other ones?
It is, because the other ones don't have maximum landing weight. You kind of typically only see that as the aircraft get bigger.
Okay.
And then you'll see on the CG diagram as well, there's also a yellow mark on this one. And that's because when you look at the envelope chart for CG loading in this aircraft, it has a limit on how far aft the CG can be at a high altitude operation and high weight. or it's for high weight due to the high altitude operation. And you'll feel that when you get this up to 41,000 feet. It is not an airliner; it is a small airplane.
Yeah.
And you're really kind of working into that coffin corner to be able to be stable up there. So if you try to go up to that altitude with a really aft CG, it's going to feel kind of wobbly and squirrely up there.
I love that. That's incredible. Right, the avionics bay is roasting 107 degrees. So there's a good chance they're going to break something now.
No, that's not too bad, actually. I think it has to get like 140 to 160 before things start getting uncomfortable.
Okay. Now, I'm just looking at the main fan here. Can we turn that on ourselves, or is that powered by kind of like the ram air coming in?
That is on when we have the environmental system running, which we do, and when air conditioning is required. So you'd have to turn the temperatures like all the way down. I think they'd probably come on.
And we'd probably want the bleeds on, right?
I don't think that affects that, but in general, yes, they should be on. And then the temperature mode, put that to auto. The manual is just with that switch in the middle, so you can set the temperatures.
Oh yeah, she's flying away there now. Perfect.
Okay, great.
And it's great as well because it couldn't be simulated, but like moving back into the very rear of the aircraft, that's where that air is coming in through your AC, right? The return air duct, it's coming in that way because outside the airplane, if we go to this camera, this is the main air intake right there, isn't it?
And you can hear that fan. It's actually very loud. That's sucking in that air. And once you get up in the air and you have that ram air pressure, you don't need that fan anymore, so it shuts off. And when you're back there, you can hear when you're starting up the engines, you can hear the inertial separators, you can hear the fuel pumps, the flap motors, the little worm gears that move the flap motors, the forward wing. We haven't even talked about the forward wing.
Oh yeah, right. 2 seconds. What I want to do, just for the sounds, I'm going to give this a bit of oomph, and we have a quick listen to the sounds, and then we'll jump straight back in and have a look at that front wing because it is awesome. So guys, just mind your ears on this. We give it a bit of power. And then straight into beta as well. Good man, Murph. See, that's why I shouldn't have nice things. I'll break them. Man, the sounds are great. But this also, as she's a turbo, would you do a prop sync with this as well before takeoff? Cycle the prop?
Well, two different things. The prop sync, yes, you have that for cruise flight, and then cycling the prop, so that is doing the feather test and the auto feather test, and that that's all in the checklists, and it's something that's a lot of fun if you have two physical throttles on your desk, to run it up a little bit and then activate the auto feather, pull one back slowly at arm, and then boom, and it goes into feather.
Wow.
And then you bring it back up, do it with the other one, boom, goes into feather. Then bring the two of them back, go into feather manually, goes down, feather manually on the other side, down. And that's all it takes. That was one of the other things I wanted to say to you. I know we're not running procedures today, but I find that a lot of streamers who are not real world pilots, spend a lot of time in the procedures and therefore kind of tend to ignore them and jump through and just get to the flying. And obviously if you want to do that just to have fun, sure. But if you're interested in the procedures and how the airplane works, there's, you kind of, a lot of airplanes are really similar. This got PT6s, the electrical system's kind of like a King Air, and you just learn how quickly you can get these things done. I mean, that feather check, it's like half a page of a checklist. But to do it, you just know, up to 17%, slow down on one, up, slow down on the other, up, feather, levers, back, feather one, feather two, full forward, done.
Wow, I love that. And like, again, it's an aircraft that's inviting you to learn it, because there's so much there, right? And there's low hanging fruit with some of the tests. I mean, you have your crew alert systems already somewhat automated over here. We can mess with these and hear the alerts and see them. And I feel great. I did my pre-flight test, but it's when you really go in and making sure the aircraft is doing and running 100%. And once you learn these things, once you figure out how they work, audibly you can hear if there's a problem then, because that's not going the way it should be, and that screen shouldn't be. It's quite incredible. And even looking here, I mean, look, straight away let's bring up a couple of checklists, and all our checklists are in here. Our pre-flight checks, and we can come along, and I think the LS buttons kind of move through these if there's a next page, and we can roll down through them, and we have this little joystick over here, which I think it's going to be so much trying to fly this without autopilot on, but there's far much more functionality to even this joystick, because this little thumbstick, you can use this for plotting navigational routes by looking at a map. It's staggering.
That's one of my favorite features. I mean, I saw people, looking at the flight planning in Starship and saying, oh boy, this is going to be really challenging and difficult. It's the easiest flight planning I've ever done in an airplane. You use that joystick, you just slew over to what you want, you click it, and then it adds it to the flight plan and moves the map. And you click on the next one, and it moves the map, and you click on the next one.
You could plan your entire flight just by using that. Don't worry about punching in numbers. And the keyboard, I think, I had to look at T9. I mean, I grew up with when phones just came out, I was like, you can press the button so many times. But no, the T9 was different, because if you pressed a button, you had to press the letter key to actually change it into a letter. It was nuts. And then out of handiness, you went ahead and you threw in a 430.
And really quick, back to that cursor for a second, because I see that you're using the legacy interaction system. Somebody pointed out to me just yesterday that it's really slow with the legacy system. I fixed it so it's really nice and fluid now.
Oh, nice.
But if you're using the modern, the lock system, it drags around literally like a mouse cursor. Like you grab it and you just go whoop right up to what you want and click, and whoop. Like there's no, you don't have to click it and repeat it. It's you just drag it like a mouse.
And in terms of putting in a route from something like Navigraph, I mean, is there a direct import a route into this, or it's all manually set up?
It's all manually set up, and I know that that's going to be disappointing for some people, and there's a few reasons for that. Number one is that the native flight sim flight planner was not really designed to work around any of that stuff. So that's why you see that typically in the airliner level things that have made their own autopilots, and they have their own, like C++ applications running on the side that are doing some of the flight planning. I have toyed with an idea to get you to be able to, write a flight plan in a text file so that you can get that loaded up. Or flight plans in a text file when you load that up, and then you could select them, which would, make it so you could put something in SimBrief and then just copy paste, and then it would load.
Now, with the 430, I mean, I could put a flight plan into this, and that'll transfer, wouldn't it?
So that doesn't transfer to the Starship's avionics, because I've done that the same way that it is in real life. Starship NC-51 has a GNS 430 right there, and when Starship was originally built, GPS wasn't really in the public domain yet. So everything you see there is done without GPS originally, and then it's augmented with GPS later. And that's a completely separate unit that lives in the forward avionics bay. The position information doesn't come from the 430.
Okay.
But the reason the 430 is there is because Starship can't do holds, it can't do procedure turns, it can't do arrivals or departures. So if you wanted to fly those with the autopilot instead of by hand, you put those in the 430. Then you tell the autopilot on the CDU, I want you to use the 430. So then the 430 takes over the CDI, the glide slope needle, and it will fly using the 430, but it'll still show you the flight plan that's in the Starship's avionics, so you can still keep track of where you are and where you're going and what your next waypoints are. The GNS is just doing it's replacing the hand flying for you.
Okay, but in theory, I mean, if I put in a flight plan into the GNS and we tell Starship, listen, the CDI is going to be tied to that GNS, would it follow the route from that GNS?
Yeah. Oh, it'll do the whole route that way. It's just, that's not really the point, but
no,
but
I get
it's there.
that.
Yeah, if you want to do it.
So in theory, if I were to for science, if I were to go off and create a little flight plan in Navigraph, right? And let me see, I'm going to do a new flight, and we're on the ground here at Providence. So if I put in, KPVD, and we want to go to Boston, and then I don't know, out to Martha's Vineyard. What was
my old stomping grounds here?
Really?
Yeah, this is where I've done most of my flying, is up in New England.
Oh, right, okay. Right, so there's our flight there, and I'm going to make this, what am I going to do with this? I'm going to leave that there. Right, now, disappear Navigraph for the moment. Well done, Navigraph, you're a champ. And we're going to go into here and go to Navigraph, and this should pull it in this way. Let's just see, now if I break it, there's no backsies, right?
It shouldn't break it. No, I haven't done this because I'm not a Navigraph user. I leave this kind of thing up to the beta testers. But getting into the 430 should be no problem, because it's just, I'm just using the native working title 430, and then that means that Starship will fly it. You're not going to see that on the map on Starship, but the autopilot will do it no problem.
Okay, so it doesn't seem to be going in. Well, does it? Let's have a look. It doesn't seem to be going into the 430. Because that would just that would answer the question in relation to importing SimBrief stuff. Because you could technically, there's a workaround,
Well, that was why I did it to begin with, and I'm not an expert on this particular thing, because I prefer to just program things myself. Like the real airplane, but it's I don't know why it wouldn't do it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do a flight plan using old school, if you want to call it. So if I go say for the number 4, but I got to say it's a letter, so that becomes K, right? P is the next one, so P. V is over here, and then D, which will be over there. And we're going to enter this guy. So we're going to start off there. Yeah. Okay, that guy. And our next one then, let's put in, in a Boston. So K.
This one I was going to recommend do it with the keyboard entry, because obviously this is very tedious.
Oh, yes, good call.
So you can click on the CDU screen, and then you'll be able to use your keyboard on your desktop, which is,
that's so handy.
You'll do that pretty quick, because the other way gets pretty tedious.
Okay, so you just literally click on the screen, keyboard is highlighted in beautiful cyan color, and what was the last one? It was going to be Martha's Vineyard, wasn't it?
Well, let's do that one on the MFD screen.
Let's do that one on the, over here, yes.
Yeah, with the joystick.
Now, menu, it should show it, right? It's got to be here somewhere. So here we got Providence, Boston, and then Vineyard is down here somewhere. So,
yeah, well, if it's off the screen, you might have to zoom out, but then if it's too small of an airport...
I think we're good.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Okay. So
I know that the joystick is not perfect right now, but I've already fixed that for the legacy interactions.
Okay, that's pretty close. So, for me to select that now, I just hit enter, right?
That's right.
And it says
and
joystick.
Then you'll see. Yep, it takes a minute to get that identifier. Which is realistic. The processor and bus speed of Starship is like comparable to an 8086. It is very slow. And they optimized it really well. Like, you're never going to feel that when you're flying, but you kind of see it sneak in when you start to do things like, it's looking up an identifier in the database. That can take a moment.
And then to enter this in, then is it already entered? Oh, it is. Look, it's
Yeah,
already in there.
it's there. Yeah, you just do end flight plan now, and then it'll bring you out to the main flight plan page.
That's super. So we're going to go Providence, Boston, and then Martha's Vineyard, giving us detail. Look at this. I'm loving this. Add waypoints along the way and procedures and whatnot. If it was to be, Citizen Stars, we can come back into this guy.
Yeah, and it does. Well, the approaches as well are in the Starship's database. So that's up at the top left. It says approach, and then you can add, any RNAV, ILS localizer approach you want. That's got you covered.
Nice.
And for the SIDS and stars that are in between, I mean, quite frankly, the way that used to be done and the way that I would do it is using probably the joystick on the MFD. You just go into, tell it to show you only the intersections, and then you just pop them in there in the middle of the flight plan, and you're good to go.
That's incredible. And this is where we can, and this is class. Oh yeah, and didn't even touch on the radar, but like you've also built a fully working weather and terrain radar into this.
I put a stupid amount of time into that. I wanted something that looked good. We have terrain radar, in the other airplanes, but I wanted something that did the proper dithering patterns and that depended on like the weather. If it's raining really hard, that attenuates the radar signal.
Right.
So you'll see less far away from you. And the terrain radar was what was really fun, because that's something Starship, can do. If you go to the radar control page, then you see ground map. Yeah. And you can also adjust the gain. It has legitimate gain control, so you can actually see more or less of the storms. The turbulence is a good approximation of what's going to be a really nasty storm to fly through. That shows in magenta. And you can see some of the dithering showing up there, but you're obviously not going to see much because you're sitting on the ground.
Yes.
And then what's really neat is on the second page of the radar control, there's tilt control. So when you're flying, you can tilt the radar antenna up and down to look at the peaks and valleys of the mountains in front of you. And, like I was flying it in the Nevada desert the other day, and just being able to tilt that down by a few degrees and know whether you're going to hit something in the absolute black hole of the desert in front of you is, it's a game changer.
So hang on, if I do this now, is it looking at cloud or precip or both?
Weather radar is only precipitation.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's have a look here. So winds are grand. Let's put precip.
But again, you're on the ground, so you're getting a lot of noisy bounce from all the objects around you in the ground and the grass. So you're not going to be able to see very far. And that's what I did here. And like you're kind of proving the point for me, because in the native weather radars, it's happy to show you 200 miles away.
Yeah.
That's not realistic. You can't see that far away. It's a radar. It's not pulling this from some database like we have, FISB in a modern airplane that's looking at NEXRAD data. You can't see more than a mile or two in front of you because it's just too noisy. It's only once you get in the air you're able to actually look out pretty far and see the weather.
That's awesome. But even there now, like dithering as you call it, but even by tilting it, you can. That's very good. That's very, very good.
It's also gorgeous. It's got a lot of colors. When you load that up when you're flying. Yeah, the test pattern. There you go.
It's absolutely amazing. And then that's before we even get into your nav options, and like this Omega thing absolutely blew my mind because it was like, hang on, what do you mean? Like the nav source, which is grand, FMS or VORs, they're all wonderful. But from here, was it FMS? VLF Omega status. There were 14 stations real world, and I think this was all put together by the US Coast Guard, and these stations were reporting positions before conventional GPS were the thing in the civilian market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see
it was,
we can select. No, you're grand. Like we can select what stations we want to be using to give us some sort of, accurate positioning within the world.
And that's again, it's not something you have to use because all the Starships have GPS augmentation now. So you just fly it like a normal airplane today. But if you really want to go and fly like it's 1989, you can turn off the GPS and you can use the old Omega. And then it also does triangulation based off of VOR and DME stations. and you can tell it to automatically tune the stations as you fly along.
Wow.
And it will show you those on the map as you fly. It'll pick the nearest stations and tune to those and figure out where it is relative to them.
That's incredible. Yes, aviator glasses, old-fashioned burgers with non-biodegradable styrofoam containers. We're going back to the 80s. It's going to be great. That's amazing. I'm loving this. And that's one part of it. But then, I mean, I've been really enjoying, flying kind of, VOR and even ADF stuff. And these are all put in here as well on these two Collins units. I mean, we can pre-select, we can store stuff, I think, in here, or can we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also that you have the ability to do 8.33 kilohertz spacing on those as well.
Awesome.
For the European flyers. You in order to do that, you push that center button, and you'll see that it, or the center knob, and it adds an extra digit for you.
Sweet.
And you can also enter all those frequencies on the CDU. That left row of buttons on the CDU, you push the return. Yeah, there you go. You push the left row of buttons on the CDU, gives you all the nav and communications radio tuners, and you can type in a frequency and just put it on there, which is really fast. And you can also use the MFD map. If you select a station with the joystick, then it's just because you're using that as your current navigation. Yeah. On the MFD map, if you slew over a station and you press enter, it copies the identifier into the scratch pad, and you can actually put that in, and it looks up the frequency for you.
Oh, wow.
And puts it in there.
That's awesome.
And just because I see a couple questions going by here.
Sure.
So yes, you can fly it just like an airliner. It's going to be a little bit more work, obviously, but as far as the current nav data is concerned, that's the beauty of pulling it straight from the simulator. It's the current data, and anything, any procedures are going to be in there, whether they're in Starship's database for all the current approaches, or whether they're in the GNS for the SIDS and stars. And that was, I designed this with that in mind. I was like, I know people are going to be on VATSIM with this. I know they're going to want to fly the modern procedures and not pretend it's 1989.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. And the other one is about the fallback navigation. Yes, as if you disable the GPS, or because it's a black square airplane, the GPS fails, it'll go back to all that archaic navigation, and it will continue to triangulate its position off the DMEs and the VORs. And then if that fails, yes, it falls back to dead reckoning, and it will throw up a flag for you that says FMS is in dead reckoning, and the position will slowly drift after that. And if it gets bad enough, it throws up another message that says position uncertain. I don't know where I am. And if you want, you can then tell it where it is if you think off of a map. And you can update that FMS position, and then it will take on that new position, and you can keep flying with that new position. And that's, that was the reality of flying before GPS. So I was really happy to bring that sort of as a historical context to Flight Simulator.
Absolutely incredible. And do you know what the scary thing is? We are not scratching the surface of this thing, because yes, so many nav options, so many engine options when it comes to watching what systems are behaving. Then we have the environmental from the cooling side of it. Then you have the challenge of actually flying the aircraft, because it does give you a very unique flying kind of the flight envelope, if that makes sense, because it handles very differently. It's so smooth in the air and quite stable. But yeah, I think, as you said, it was pitot overheating. Look at that, the pitot's overheating on the ground. That's nuts, right? It's the fact that you can jump into this, eyes closed, if you like, and not worry about anything, and then just start looking at, specific systems, try and learn them and figure them out as best you can, and kind of take it from there. Nick, this is an absolutely incredible feat of design and what you've managed to pull in here from the real world aircraft. It's quite staggering, because I think I can speak for everyone. We never would be in a position to be able to learn about this aircraft in this depth of knowledge without the work you've done here. And it looks great, it sounds great, and it behaves great, and it's a marvel. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that'll like make you dizzy. You know, it's incredible. And like, again, even the lighting, you know, we just changed things to nighttime, but like even the effects of the strobes, it's not just a very basic, oh, here's your strobe light. I mean, you've added in all the visual kind of fidelity that we've come to expect now from Black Square. I mean, the strobes, we've the option that they'll bounce off the clouds, really disorientate your view, because you put a strobe light on during clouds or low vis, it'll just blind everything. But you've even gone one further than that, because if the aircraft is approaching bad weather, in particular thunderstorms, you've modelled even like St. Elmo's fire coming out through the static wicks in the aircraft.
Yeah, and I've had that for a lot of airplanes now, but that's kind of one of my aviation bucket list items. I haven't seen that in the real world yet, and I look forward to it hopefully someday.
Incredible. Now, the last thing we need to look at, we have to check out this glorious front wing, because it is glorious. So let's see what we can do here. So this will be operated primarily from the flap lever, right?
Yes, yeah, they're one in the same. Deploying the flaps is deploying the forward wing, and they have a electronic system that keeps them synchronized. So, you know, if you were listening to the sounds in the back, you'll actually hear the flaps start and stop briefly so that they maintain their synchronization with the forward wing.
Brilliant. Only that Gibbo Ireland mentioned that, I would have totally forgotten. It's grand, though.
Me too.
Come on, Gibbo. Right, hang on. Let's just see if they're just fully there on screen, which I think they are. So I'm going to start moving now the flap, and it's like it needs like a Space Odyssey or you know, a 2001. That's what it needs for the soundtrack.
That is exactly what it feels like.
It's so strange, and the angle is so aggressive. I mean, that wing is no longer straight. It's gone beyond, right? It's
I think it's 6 degrees forward, I think.
Like it, and that's what it does. I mean, it operates as a flap so far as that will allow us fly at a lower speed, right? Before
only
stall.
by a couple knots, really, but it does help out.
It's pretty cool, and like just looking at it as well, it's like individual, and even the use now of, you know, the flight controls and how they impact on that surface from elevation, it's absolutely class, and the movement and everything, it's all spot on. It's absolutely brilliant. And then, you know, moving those where's the button now? Moving the flaps back. It's gorgeous. Now, with the engines off and you do that, I imagine there's quite a bit of draw on that, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's a big motor. And, you know, as for a unique flying experience, one of my favorite things, you know, when you're taking off and you have that wing extended, you know, it's got a pretty big wingspan. And when you're bouncing down the runway, you can see it shake and vibrate and flex with every bump that hits the nose wheel.
Wow.
And then once you're in the air, if the sun is just wrong, it can, you know, glint the sun right off that forward wing and right into your eyes, which is not ideal, but it reminds you that you're flying a Starship.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. And you wouldn't think of it until it happens, right? Where the sun might fully shine on it. Yeah, you'll probably see it better over this side.
Hello there.
Yeah, that's real good. It's absolutely a work of class, this thing. I must hang on now before I break my sound. There's a good chance I broke it. There we go, it's alive again. If I were to shut down the engines, right? And again, we'll do this reverse. I'm not worried about avionics on or off. I mean, I can bring these down, right?
You can, and what you'll see is that they have automatic load shedding. So that's what those bus ties do, is that when you turn off the engines and the generators no longer supply power, it's going to drop out most of the avionics to preserve your battery.
Wow, and that's an automatic feature. That's
awesome.
awesome.
The King Air does that too. It's kind of the beauty of that triple fed bus system. And you know, if you wanted to, you can bring the bus ties back, you know, closed, and you can have all the avionics. But it does that automatically and quickly so that you're preserving battery power.
Wow. And then I think your final last line of defense is going to be your standby instruments. That's their own.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
That would be a very bad day when you were down to just those.
Okay, so bring those out. Power back to idle. And the fans are on, but what I wanted to do, hear those sounds. I wanted to kind of just, when it comes to the sounds on this, and when you can hear surfaces move, right? So I want to show this one here. And again, you can hear all the fans and that. But if we want to go start moving control surfaces, right? It's incredible. And over time, you know, Murphy's Law, if I wanted to drain the battery, do this 2 or 3 more times, they slow down and you'll hear them, and then eventually they just stop mid movement.
Yeah, all the sounds and everything that you hear, you know, have that voltage drop incorporated into them. The gyroscopes too, like if your battery voltage is getting really low and you turn on the gyro, it's going to take a long time to get up, and it might not get up to full speed. And if it doesn't get up to full speed, because it's a physics-based simulation, if you then, you know, take that airplane and aggressively bank it from side to side, that gyroscope's not going to read accurately anymore. You know, it's going to drift and it's going to wobble.
It's absolutely incredible. And the good news is, folks, I mean, if you're intimidated by this, don't worry. I mean, you can turn off the consequence and just jump in and just go flying in it. And as I said, like I think, you know, for me to summarize what this is, it's the sort of aircraft that's inviting you to learn it. But it's not demanding you to learn it. Do you know what I mean? And that's important as well. It's because in general aviation, I mean, this would confuse. It'll confuse a lot of the airliner guys going, wait, what? How does this work? And us in GA, well, we're kind of at home with areas of it. There's some familiarities when it comes to the beach with the King Airs, you say, but it's just some of the other stuff and the thought that you've put into it. Simple things like, you know, a place for everything in its place. If you happen to, you know, get into the cockpit and you've done your walk around checks and you notice that this shelf here is empty, you're going to have a bad day because they're the locking pins for the gear. You got to make sure that they're where they're supposed to be. The same at the very, very back of the aircraft. I mean, you open up these doors and there's a beautiful little Easter egg there, but that's where all our chocks live. You know what I mean? So like you can do a lot of stuff here by hand. Which I love, which, you know, it's class. Control locks. I don't know where I put the remove before flight. They're hidden away there somewhere. But yeah, it's an absolute. It's a masterpiece. Can't wait for folks to start flying in it. But Nick, I'm very conscious of your time. I've kept you up past my bedtime. But I want to thank you so much for just sharing your side of building this. And I know, once again, Just Flight have been incredible here. I know that they do the publishing side of the house and providing all the information. All your videos are there, which is great to see. So a shout out to the guys at Just Flight as well. But Nick, it's been an absolute pleasure listening to you, because I mean, as you said, this is your passion project for years. You can absolutely see that in the product, which isn't yet fully released, right? But you know, you've a couple of more days. You got from tomorrow week, and it's going to be available over on the Just Flight website. Initially, it'll eventually go to the other vendors, and yeah, the price mark on this, we can read it again. I just want to double check this is right. Hang on there now. Where's that button? So pricing for the aircraft, it's going to be £39.99, €44.95 or $54.99. That's the price for this aircraft when it comes out, but it's a whole lot of aircraft. It really, really is. I mean, you've navigation options, you've consequence if you want it. There's so much to delve into, and like so many different scenarios to fly, right? You want to fly in the 80s with no GPS? Yes, you can do it. You want to upload the nav data with a 3.5-inch floppy disk? You can absolutely do it, and I love it. It's just from that period where like there was just some incredible aircraft out there. You know, there's a handful of aircraft from this time you know, kind of 70s, 80s, 90s that were just, they were so far out there. It was incredible. But Nick, you've done such an incredible job here. I cannot wait for folks to fly this. You're going to put a lot of smiles on a lot of faces for sure.
I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you fly it as well. You know, if you want to have me back, we can
100%.
really get it up there, and we can put it to work. And other than that, I have to thank you because this was my first ever live stream.
Oh wow, no pressure.
Not at all. No. I'm glad I told you at the end. But thank you so much. This has been a delight, and it's been been delighted to answer the questions of your chat as well. So I think it's time to let you get to bed.
Sweet. Well, look, Nick, yeah, we'll touch base. Definitely be great to get a flight in on this very soon. So yeah, we'll check your schedule, see how you're fixed, and I do believe you're going to be attending Flight Sim Expo this year as well.
Absolutely. I'll look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Nick from Black Square, thank you very, very much indeed, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you so much. You too. Have a good night.
Take care. Brilliant. What a gent. What an absolute gent. That was Nick Kazansky from Black Square, lads. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was a bit of a teaser to say, yeah, do you know what? That's on my shopping list. Absolutely incredible looking aircraft. And as I said, lads, there's a number of just truly brilliant airplanes just released, very, very soon to be released, and others on a short final. You know, there's a lot of great stuff in the world of general aviation, and we got some great choppers on the way as well. There's a lot of stuff. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. For all the folks who rambled in, thank you also very, very much indeed. It's great to see so many familiar faces here at this stream, and yeah, Nick did so good. That was his first time on a live stream. That was brilliant, wasn't it? Jeez, very good. He'd be putting me out of a job, right? But anyway, lads, that's it for this evening. We're back to you tomorrow at some stage, right? I do want to get flying in the Tomahawk once again from Just Flight, because that just got released and updated today, and we got some other aircraft we want to go flying in as well. This as well. So we're back at some stage tomorrow. We will be doing our VATSIM flight tomorrow night. We'll be taking out the Phoenix A320. That'll be at 1900 Zulu time tomorrow, and of course we have our group flight happening this coming Friday night as well, so it's a busy week for sure. But massive shout out to Gibbo and to Muse and to Old Veteran for keeping me up to date in the background and looking after everything here in the chat. Really appreciate it, lads. Massive shout out to our first guest tonight, Richard from Time Machine Designs. Absolutely incredible bit of stuff there with Hadrian's Wall. iniBuilds, shout out for the Providence scenery, absolutely class. Love the fact that they've put in Flight Sim Expo 2025 in there, and of course to Just Flight, and indeed with Nick Kazansky from Black Square. It's so nice getting to, like, we've seen this before, when you get to chat to developers who are they're so into their product, they're so into their aircraft. I mean, we've seen it with Raoul from FS Reborn, we've seen it from Scott from A2A, we've seen it from so many, Nick with FlightFX. So many folks, they're so into their products. It's a joy to watch and listen to them as they chat about it. But anyway, lads, that's the story now. I'm away to lie down. We'll see you tomorrow at some stage, and have a very pleasant evening. Good luck to you.
It's all right.
Hey, Rambog is here. Good to see you, man. Did I miss anyone else? Oh, Jesus, watch what you're doing, Murphy. I know! The dreaded chat! I know! See what happens? Did you see it? Collider is here. Into beta, reversers, flaps in. Get out of beta. Get out of the beta. Ah! That's weird, the throttle doesn't move. Jerry Coogan, many thanks for the follow. Hang on, we need to get out of beta. No, that's backwards, Murph. Uh-oh. Get out of... Oh, we nearly tipped it over, lads. You see it? Jesus. Why won't you get out of beta, you devil? My controls are no longer agreeing with me. Right. What's it doing now? Not as beta. Stupid thing. Stop reversing! Ah, you need to go forwards! Ready for this to give up? I'm a little teapot, short
Dreamy, sleepy,
and
nighty,
stout.
snoozy, snooze.
Here is me handle, and here is me spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Just tip me over and pour me out. Ah, Jesus!
Oh, stop.
You see? Hands. Is Mike Roch in the chat? Mike Roch? That's brilliant! Hey everybody! Is there a Mike Roch here? Is Mike Roch here? Neil May Agut. What do you mean the two wands? They were professional pilots who